According to a Taliban spokesman, the attacker on foot struck first, and then the car bomber rammed into the convoy as the emergency services arrived to tend to the wounded, a common strategy for such attacks. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani condemned the attack as a crime against humanity and said he is launching an investigation to see how the Taliban managed to find out about the convoy in advance to launch such a coordinated strike. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. UPI reports the State Department has asked a judge for 2 more years to sort through emails from former aides to Hillary Clinton, saying the search method the department used was faulty and omitted thousands more emails than initially thought relevant to a lawsuit by a conservative group. The group, Citizens United, sued the State Department last year, seeking access to emails sent by 4 former Clinton aides. The suit seeks access to emails regarding the Clinton Foundation and Teneo Consulting, a firm with close ties to the Clintons. U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras ordered the State Department to make the emails available to Citizens United by July 21st. But now the State Department lawyer said in a legal filing that there may be thousands more emails potentially relevant to the lawsuit than initially thought, and due to the large number of Freedom of Information lawsuits and requests generated by the revelation that Clinton used a private email server while Secretary of State, it could take up to 27 months to complete the work. State Department Freedom of Information Officer Eric Stein said the agency initially only searched the to and from lines in its email database to determine how many emails might be relevant to the Citizens United case, but that search method excluded forwarded emails and other items that text searches for various related phrases did not, leading to thousands more emails that must be reviewed for relevance and national security redactions. Stein said the agency is reviewing the emails at a rate of about 500 per month. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a Secret Service agent who stole money seized by the government in the investigation of the drug bazaar Silk Road is now suspected of stealing money in at least 2 other cases, according to court filings unsealed on Thursday. In the larger of those cases, he is thought to have been behind the theft of about $700,000 worth of Bitcoin from a Secret Service account 3 months after the agency was urged to block his access, according to court documents. Former Secret Service agent Sean Bridges pled guilty last year and was sentenced in December to nearly 6 years in prison for stealing more than $800,000 worth of Bitcoin during the Silk Road investigation. According to an affidavit unsealed on Thursday, the Justice Department learned in April 2015 that Bridges might have kept a private cryptographic key giving him access to a Bitcoin wallet with $700,000 in currency that the Silk Road Task Force had seized in 2014. The department urged the agency to move the funds elsewhere. Both the Secret Service and Bridges' attorney, Stephen Levin, declined comment. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
I was doing my regular 11 o'clock security sweep around the perimeter of my house when I noticed a couple of young people having intercourse in the front seat of a car out in the street. So I ran inside and I grabbed my video camera. As you can imagine, I stood in those bushes for over 20 minutes watching these 2 degenerates grind against each other, and I'm thinking, this behavior is simply unacceptable. Now, if you think this is an isolated incident, you are dead to rights wrong. I have 36 hours of footage to prove it that I have personally collected from sickos just around my own town. For example, I saw perverts having sex in swimming pools clearly visible from the roofs of adjacent buildings, on boats that anybody could see with a telescope, at night on the beaches where they can easily be watched by anyone hiding behind a fence wearing their night vision goggles. It's simply disgusting.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us on the radio here. Our toll-free number and Skype username will be available to you. You can bring up anything you want to discuss. With you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Ian.
And Darryl.
The whole secession thing still on a lot of people's minds. A lot of people talking about this. There was a poll here in New Hampshire on the Union Leader website where over 40% of the respondents, obviously unscientific, 40% plus, said they supported New Hampshire leaving the United States.
And I'm curious how many people voted multiple times on that poll.
I think it was only checking via cookies. If so, it certainly was possible for the poll to be spammed from both
tested
sides.
it, and I voted 3 times in that poll.
I see.
Because I opened a different browser, and then I was like, let me see if I open a private window in this browser.
It worked.
Yeah.
So it was cookie-based. And so, yeah, like I said, unscientific poll. But nonetheless, it's an indicator, not so much that a poll happened, but that there's a discussion happening. That the news media thinks this is an interesting enough issue to report on, number one, and number two, put up a poll on their website to have people talking about it.
Right, and I remember, and we had talked about this back when the poll came out, and hard to believe it was almost 2 years ago, September of 2014, when Reuters did a poll and found, or at least Reuters reported on the poll, found that 1 in 4 Americans are in favor of their state seceding from the Union.
Yep, that's right.
We don't know how many people are in favor of allowing another state to leave.
Could be even higher.
Or it could be even lower.
Well, there are a lot of people who, let's say, remember when the Texas thing, not the first time. The first time the Texas thing really got a lot of headlines was right after Obama.
Right, the whole
reelected.
We the People petition.
Yeah, there were people who were on the left who saw this as the opportunity to get rid of Texas.
Good.
And so
get all those Republicans out of here.
Right, that was the attitude of some of the...
They can have George Bush as their king.
Exactly, and so that was the attitude of some of the people who were on the left who presumably would not support their state leaving, but would support Texas or fill-in-the-blank state leaving because get rid of those people. So it would be interesting to see the question asked in a few different ways and see how people respond.
And it might be interesting depending on how you ask of, okay, would you be in favor of Nebraska leaving? And most people, well, why would they leave? Blah, blah, blah. Who cares about Nebraska? Well, okay, what about California? Well, no, we need California because they send a lot of tax money to Washington.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, depending on how you ask the question and which state you're asking about, but if you just ask the generic question of, and I believe the way they asked this one of, are you in favor of your state seceding? Are you in favor of allowing other states to secede? And just leave it a generic question, then I really think it's going to, it might be higher, might be less. I think it would actually be lower.
It would be interesting to take
but
that
if
question
you did
further.
ask and said, are you in favor of allowing Texas, then yes, you will see some people that might not support their state leaving.
And you could ask all these questions in a poll. You could ask multiple questions. In fact, you could follow it up with, if the person does support, if they don't support another state leaving, you could ask them, would you support killing, or would you support the military being used against the state that wants to secede? And really put it into their heads what it is that they're talking about when they don't want to allow that to happen. That would be them admitting, oh, yeah.
Showing them the gun in the room.
Right. I would then be supporting the military attacking my friends or family, because odds are good. Out of most states, you probably know somebody.
My family.
You probably know somebody who lives in those states.
My family's never left the mountains over here.
Well, there's going to be some of those people, but nonetheless.
Here's a picture of my family tree, and it's just a straight line.
I think we're in an interesting time where people are talking about this more maybe than previous. It keeps coming back. You have the Scotland thing. You have the Texas thing back in 2012. Texas is coming back around with Texit. New Hampshire exit. There's the
Catalonia
Brexit.
is still, I
haven't seen news, but that doesn't mean they're not in the news.
The last time I saw news, they were talking about having a referendum, and the Spanish president was saying he was going to sue to prevent it from happening. Right. Because you're not allowed because I say so.
I remember that story. So, that was within the last year, I think, that we talked about that.
Yeah.
So there's some news about the Brexit, though, which is the most recent spawning of this issue, getting people talking about it. Of course, for those that don't know, Great Britain, the voters there voted about a week ago.
Yesterday, actually.
To leave the European Union. And this is a big deal. It was a close vote. It was, I think, just about 1 million votes difference, like 16 million to 15 million or somewhere in that range. And so
52 to 48, I believe, was the percentage. And one thing that I think very interesting, and we talked about this a little bit last night, is that every one of the precincts or locales, whatever it is that they refer to as the polling locations, all of them in Northern Ireland and all of them in Scotland voted to remain.
Yeah. Well, now that's pushing Scotland towards more independence. So
Skexit for its union.
Because, it was, 2 years ago, a year ago or something, where Scotland voted?
Last year.
Yeah. So Scotland voted very recently and it came close. They ultimately did not vote to leave the United Kingdom, but now... Right. Now that might be pushed over. Now they may have enough people angry enough to where there's all right. We want to be part of the EU, so we're going to leave the United Kingdom.
And one of the things that was thrown out as sort of a fearmonger sort of thing to scare people into voting to remain part of the UK was, well, if you leave, you're not going to be able to use the pound.
Why would you not be able to use the pound?
Well, because the pound exists at the decree of Her Highness.
Yeah.
So it exists because of the Queen. And if the Queen says the Royal Bank of Scotland can no longer issue pounds, then...
Oh, I didn't know the Bank of Scotland issued pounds.
In the same way that the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia issues dollars and the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta issues dollars. They do so with the blessing of the Federal Reserve system.
Well, then they can have their own Scottish whatever.
Right, but that scared people. And they were like, money! Because this was just sort of like thrown out like a week before the election, and people didn't have time to actually, use their brain and process it.
Didn't the value of the pound drop precipitously after the Brexit? Did I hear that?
That's one way that it was being reported.
Okay.
And if you zoomed in really close on the value of the pound to the dollar, then yes, it fell off a cliff. But if you scan out and look instead of like the last 5 days to the last 5 years, it wasn't really that big of a difference.
I see. Got it. So perspective matters.
Yes, perspective matters a lot. Just like there was the report of the most Googled term in the UK was, what happens if we Brexit? And yes, that search term did increase by 225%. But before the vote, it was averaging about 50 people per day Googling that term.
Okay.
And after the vote, then it went, like 225% over 50. So, like maybe a couple thousand people looking it up on Google instead of 50.
Yeah.
So, yes, percentage-wise, huge jump.
So is the
But
Brexit...
it wasn't like, millions of people all of a sudden Googling what happens if we Brexit.
So you told me before we started the show the Brexit may be in jeopardy.
Yes.
What's happening? What's the latest on this? Because we know the last we heard, at least last we talked about when I was on the show, was that there was a concern that the prime minister has resigned, so therefore he's not going to do anything. So you have to wait till the next prime minister comes on. Then he's going to do the Brexit thing whenever he gets to do it. So it could be like a year, maybe even more, and who knows what they've got up their sleeves. So what's the latest?
Story from antiwar.com says Britain could stay in the EU or they could close it.
Whoa, what? Okay, now that sounds really interesting. We'll get into that here in moments. The toll-free number, if you want to join us, if you want to talk Secession, that's cool, or whatever's on your mind. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Or Skype into the show. Skype username is LRN.FM. It's Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Welcome to Staples.
Hi, Staples guy. We're moving offices, and it's a giant pain in the...
Bubble roll?
What?
Well, Staples has bubble roll, packing tape, all kinds of boxes, everything you need to move, and all at low prices.
Great. That's a giant load off my...
Packing peanuts?
No.
Shrink wrap?
No, but now moving will be a walk in the...
Packing tape?
Sure.
Get low prices on everything you need to move at Staples. And right now, Staples brand bubble roll is buy two, get one free. Staples. Make more happen. Offer valid on same SKU only.
Napa know-how. Napa's celebrating the most important things we can think of: America, racing, and freedom, by giving you a free patriotic racing cap for spending $25 at Napa. And for every hat given away, we'll donate $1 to the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund. Help us celebrate America, racing, and freedom with a free Napa patriotic racing cap. That's Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Offer expires 7/31/16.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Thursday, gold is $18 higher at $1,340 per ounce, and silver is 58 cents higher at $19.35 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $675 US. Since January 1st, gold is up 20%, and silver is up 39%. For more information, call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage at 800-874-9760, or visit us online at rrbi.co.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 641-552-5046. That's 641-552-5046.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You can join us right here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You and I just a moment ago, Darryl, were talking about Bitcoin and some news in the Bitcoin universe. Of course, there's always something developing out there. But Jaxx is on top of it. It's one of the newest wallets on the scene in the cryptocurrency world. If you've been thinking about getting some Bitcoin, or maybe you've been thinking about getting Ether, the number 2 cryptocurrency on the globe, well, the Jaxx wallet will hold both of them, as well as DAO tokens. You can get it at jaxx.io, jaxx.io. And of course, it's inaccurate to say they really hold the Bitcoin. They just allow you to access the Bitcoin. So if you lose your phone or something that your Jaxx wallet is on, no big deal. In fact, Jaxx makes it super easy to back up and recover funds if need be. Plus, all data is stored client-side, so the company that made Jaxx doesn't have access to your funds. It's cross-platform. You can use it on your smartphone, your tablet, your computer if you got Windows, Mac, or Linux. It's even a browser plugin for Chrome and Firefox. Super easy, and it works well. I like it. Jaxx.io, jaxx.io. Go and download it there, or you can do it through the Google or Apple app stores. So our toll-free number again is 855-450-FREE. Darryl, you were telling us about the Brexit, an update on what's going on there. Maybe it's in jeopardy. You know, the people who want to stay in the EU are going to try whatever kind of, they pull out all the stops, whatever kind of political mechanism they can put into place to stop this, they're going to. So what's the latest? And where's the story from again?
Antiwar.com.
Okay.
And they report that 1 week has passed since British voters came out in favor of withdrawing from the European Union, a vote that sent the entire financial world into days of chaos and sparked so much speculation about what has happened or what will happen next that it has not left the headlines for a moment.
Excellent.
After a week of talking, there's less clarity than ever. Now, before we continue here, the financial chaos thing, I don't know how much of that is real and how much of that is just people trying to, hype things up, because you had asked the question about, didn't the pound drop in value, some outrageous amount? And I was like, well, if you zoom in, then yes, it was, this huge drop. But if you look at, the 5-year trend, it wasn't that much. But silver, and this is very interesting, the price of silver is nearing $20 an ounce.
And it's been a while since it's been up there, right? I mean, silver went and peaked at around $50 a few years ago, and then came down dramatically.
Came down, and it's been hovering in the 15, 16 range for
I've seen it as low as
quite a
13.
while. It touched the high 13s a couple months ago. And I've got an app on my phone, and it's showing me that the price right now is $19.79 per ounce.
That's great news.
The price of gold has stayed steady in the low to mid 1,300 range.
Well, as when the Brexit thing happened, a friend of mine who actually works for Microsoft, old friend, posted on his Facebook that he was worried about the price of the pound or whatever, worried about his portfolio in general.
Right.
The next day, and I typed in there, well, Bitcoin's doing fine. So, having your
of course you did.
Having your finances, not or your eggs not all in one basket is always a good idea. I'm no financial advisor. I'm not an investor of any kind of skill, but I do know enough that I don't want to have all of my value in one particular currency, or certainly I don't want to have it in fiat currencies. You got to have some fiat currency, that is government currency, in order to exist for the most part, although there are some people who've done an amazing job living off of just Bitcoin.
Right.
But ultimately, some of those people who are living off of Bitcoin are using things like the WageCan card or the BitPay card in order to convert Bitcoin
and then they're
into
using
cash.
Stuff like Purse to where they buy stuff from Amazon at a discount. So, they're using the government money without actually directly using it. They're using it in a barter sort of sense.
Right.
But the article here continues, says, after a week of talking, there's less clarity than ever, though a growing number of suggestions that Britain might actually stay with the European Union irrespective of the outcome of the referendum. Or that failing that, they would reach some sort of compromise where they remain part of the European Union in everything but name. There are several ways this could happen, including the largely anti-Brexit British government just plain ignoring the referendum, or Scotland vetoing it. Even negotiations with the EU could lead to a second referendum, which itself could amount to another chance to foil the actual departure. Even Brexit advocates have talked about the need for major negotiations with the EU, with UK Independence Party leader Nigel Farage suggesting a deal could be reached in which Britain retains membership in the European Economic Area and contributes taxes to the EU budget despite leaving the Union. European officials right now are trying to downplay the chances of cutting a deal with Britain, an attempt to dissuade other nations from holding their own votes on leaving the Union. At the same time, the actual Brexit is expected to take years on end, and that's an awful lot of time for such sentiments to shift.
It sure is. Oh, politics. What a shame that things take so long. Because it sure would have been nice if, people voted for Brexit. Well, see you later. And then, it's over the next day. But
right,
no.
But even, and we're right around the time of year to where we're celebrating Independence Day.
That's right. That's coming up 3 days from now.
Well, technically it's tomorrow, but I'm not going to argue that point right now. But
that's when it was signed or whatever.
No, so the Continental Congress actually
you can't just breeze
voted.
past a point like that. That's
I'll go ahead.
History lesson time with
I'll go
Darryl.
ahead. This is history with Darryl. So the Continental Congress on July 2nd approved what was called the Lee Resolution, written by I forget if it was Richard or Henry, but the grandfather
Mr.
of
Lee.
Robert E. Lee.
Yeah.
Lighthorse was his nickname.
All right.
But he wrote this resolution in June. It was voted on July 2nd. That was just like a short couple sentences that said, "We, the Continental Congress of the United Colonies of America, secede," or break away. The Declaration of Independence, which was the "here's all of the reasons we're breaking up with you, King George," was approved on July 4th. So there were two votes on two distinct resolutions. One was just a brief, "we're breaking up with you,"
okay.
And the other was, "here's the breakup letter."
Gotcha.
So
right.
July 4th was the day that they voted on the breakup letter. July 2nd was the day they voted to say we're breaking up.
And then, there was some other day when the king received the letter, right?
Right. It was like August when most of the people signed it and then shipped it across the sea. And, who knows how long it was. But, yeah.
That's the actual Independence Day, whenever it was the king actually read the letter, right?
No, the actual Independence Day would probably be the date that the Treaty of Versailles was signed, where the British Crown recognized the colonies as being an independent nation. And that was well after the Revolutionary War. It was like 1781.
Oh, okay. Wasn't there another Treaty of Versailles? I don't know.
There have been several.
Okay. That's good to know. 855-450-FREE. That's the toll-free number. 855-450-3733. We've also got Skype. You can Skype into the show here. Username LRN.FM. More Brexit?
Not really.
Free Talk Live. More coming up.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Recently, LRN.FM kicked off its 2016 satellite fundraiser. This year, we're hoping to expand our international free-to-air satellite coverage to include Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. Our current satellite coverage includes North America, Central America, and Sub-Saharan Africa. This year, the Indiegogo-based fundraiser is going to be promoted via a Head Talker. It's a website that allows you to sign up to join in a social media blast to promote something. Sign up now at share.lrn.fm via your preferred social media, and then on Independence Day, July 4th, the Head Talker will post to your social media accounts about our fundraiser. We've set a goal of 200 people. Will you be one of them? Now, of course, you can go donate to the fundraiser right now at fund.lrn.fm. But even if you can't afford to help, you can definitely add your social media reach to the Head Talker. So please do. Go to share.lrn.fm. That's share.lrn.fm.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you? If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a Liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State. Or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm.
I'm Ian Freeman, host of Free Talk Live. We've been covering Uber for years on the radio with their ongoing legal cases across the globe defending your right to give people rides without asking government permission. I wanted to support Uber more directly, so I signed up to be a driver. It's fun to meet new people and help Uber push forward innovation. As of this recording, Uber is active in 67 countries, so there's a good chance they're available in your area. If you'd like to drive for Uber and make some money helping people get where they want to go, sign up at drive.freetalklive.com, and you'll get a $100 bonus after you complete a certain number of trips. With Uber, you can drive anytime you want. You set your schedule. To get started, you need a good driving record, 4-door vehicle, insurance, registration, and to pass a background check. It costs nothing to sign up, so visit drive.freetalklive.com. That's drive.freetalklive.com. And if you just want to try Uber as a rider, visit ride.freetalklive.com. Your first ride's free.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll free to join us. Bring up whatever you want to discuss. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
And Darryl. And I said something slightly inaccurate in the last segment. I had mentioned the Revolutionary War was ended with the Treaty of Versailles. It was actually the Treaty of Paris. But there were 2 treaties signed in Versailles the same day between the British government and the governments of France and Spain. So there were treaties of Versailles signed at the same time that the Treaty of Paris was signed, ending the American Revolution. And I thought they were all signed in Versailles.
Well, good to know. So the Treaty of Versailles that most people consider would be probably the one that ended World War I, correct?
That's the one most people probably think of, but according to the Wikipedias, there have been a
few
lot.
Of them. Okay. There's a place where people have treaties.
Not just a few, a lot of them. There was a Treaty of Versailles in 1229 that ended one of the Crusades, 1259 that ended a war between England and France, several in the 1300s, one in the 1500s, 3 in the 1600s, several in the 1700s.
Is Versailles the place where most treaties are signed?
It's a place that a lot of treaties are signed.
Sounds that way. So you can join us here, and always happy to get a correction because a lot of times we don't know what the heck we're talking about. So please, if you know something more than we do, call in 855-450-FREE. That's how we learn a lot of stuff on Free Talk Live. 855-450-3733. Let's talk to Sarah in Albuquerque. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Darryl.
I just wanted to mention that Emanuel Swedenborg was a theologian, and he wrote the book called Heaven and Hell, and he mentioned that he had finer body experiences.
Finer body?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. It's like he had like an angelic host that would visit him, and then I think it was called an etheric body or something like that. You know, like he left his physical body here and he traveled to the moon, and he saw life on the moon. And obviously, you know, I thought he was just kind of. Everybody said he was like out of it because we had that lunar landing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm believing is that what I was telling you, that it was a lunar hoax landing, and he was telling the truth. I really believe that he
What does a guy tripping in 1758 have to do with the lunar landing from the United States government?
Because what he was saying, it was the truth, is that there's people living on the moon. And
People living on the moon. Now, that's a whole other claim than saying there's life on the moon, because you know, scientifically, there's no life on the moon unless we're talking about some sort of biological thing that can't easily be seen. There's certainly no people on the moon. There's definitely no evidence for that whatsoever. But I suppose that in some
I saw a movie one time, Ian, about moon Nazis.
What was that?
Iron Sky.
I've heard that movie's really good. I haven't seen it.
Iron Sky. There's Nazis living on the dark side of the moon.
Is that
and
what you
Nazis,
think is going on here?
According to most humans, are people.
Is that what you believe is happening here, Sarah? Are you, of the belief that Nazis actually inhabit the moon? I mean, because if you're going to go all the way and say people are on the moon, you might as well say they're wearing swastikas.
Well, they actually have satellite photos of cities and domes and streets.
Who has satellite photos? Who has these?
Photos, but you know something?
Who has them? No. You don't get to keep going. We want to know more. You can't just drop a claim out there that is one of the most unbelievable, amazing, shocking claims that mankind has ever heard and not back it up. So who is claiming that they have photos of cities? What else? Cities, roads? What else was there?
Domes, like convention centers. There's actually civilizations.
Okay.
They have satellite photos of it. But see, I don't remember.
Who is they? Who's they?
Well, something. I heard this on a really late night, like they come on like 2 a.m. in the morning.
Oh yeah, of course you heard it on Coast to Coast. I've heard all kinds of weird, outrageous claims on Coast to Coast. I don't believe half of them.
Well, you know what? In fact, they run George Noory out of Albuquerque. We don't get that
really?
anymore. I know that he has. I'm serious. He came.
Well, I don't know why I even ask Sarah as though something she says is true. I don't know if that's true at all. And almost everything Sarah says is false, it seems like.
And can generally be proven to be false.
Relatively easy with a brief Google search. So, yeah, go ahead with whatever your point is here. You're trying to make the claim that there are cities on the moon, and you believe that because some crank called into a talk show that airs in the middle of the night.
Well, not only that, Emanuel Swedenborg, he claimed that he had seen people living on the moon, and he visited moon in his etheric body with his spirit guide.
He was probably tripping on DMT or something like that, having a near-death experience. And there's all kinds of things, from what I understand, that you will see in those sorts of experiences that don't necessarily have any bearing on reality or whatever it is that we're perceiving as reality. And look, I'm the first person to admit we don't know everything there is to know about reality and what it means and what other dimensions might include. But in this universe, the moon is not a hospitable place. You would need to have some sort of dome with some kind of artificial, oxygen, things like that pumped in there that people are going to need to have to live, because otherwise, that's why they wear spacesuits when they go to the moon, because it's not hospitable. It's not a place where humans can survive on their own. So just because somebody was tripping in a near-death experience and saw what he believed to be moon men does not necessarily count as evidence that they are actually there. But I can't believe I'm saying this.
Okay,
Well,
according to
Lewis
Vedas,
Carroll took a lot of drugs and then wrote Alice in Wonderland, and
Great
he
book.
was experiencing all of that while he was writing it down.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that there's actually a white rabbit running around and, like the Mad Hatter, I'm late.
It doesn't mean there isn't, but you have to have some more evidence than just the writings.
Somebody wrote it in a book.
Yeah, and somebody called talk radio and said something else, said they have pictures of cities on the moon. I mean, come on. If you haven't seen the pictures, you can't. Go ahead.
Well, and another thing is, another point I want to make is that according to Vedas, you have to be born into the atmosphere, like through the parents in the moon. That you have to have many lifetimes of pious activity. You can't be born into the moon unless you're.
So what you're saying is the moon is now, according to who? The Vedas.
The Vedas, the ancient Indian Sanskrit. It also it talks about the life on the moon.
So what you're saying is that you have to pass some kind of test. You got to be a good person or whatever, and then in your next life you could be born on the moon, maybe in some sort of alternative universe where the moon actually has an atmosphere, and you won't immediately die. Thanks for the call, Sarah.
I cannot even believe that we just had that conversation.
It is amazing. I considered ending it after the first few minutes, but I wanted to see where she was going to go with all of this, and it just went. I mean, it started in Crazy Land and just went even further.
Yeah,
even deeper into Crazy Land.
Now, I wonder if the people that live on the moon eat meatless hot dogs. Because Sarah called in last night to suggest that everybody try eating these meatless hot dogs.
Oh, and then you found a video about that.
A friend of mine that does not listen to the show had posted a video of herself eating a vegetarian corn dog.
Coincidence? I think not.
And at the end, she said, people actually eat these?
Yeah. So there you go. Anyone will believe anything someone says, apparently, if they're on the radio, which is a really dangerous...
Or if they write it in a book, or if they're on television.
Which is a really dangerous
Or they read it on the internet.
And I don't think she uses the internet. I think we've talked to her about that
Right,
before.
but there are some people that are like, well, I saw on the internet.
Yeah, look, just because somebody has a website, just because somebody has a microphone, just because someone has a radio show, doesn't mean that everything they say, and certainly not everything the guests on the show or the callers say, should be considered as objective truth. You got to question reality. You've got to question what you're being told. And even if the story sounds good, it's nice to have a little bit of evidence for it.
Yes.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live.
People who can afford a LASIK procedure sure are lucky. Imagine being able to throw away your contacts and glasses. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. Too bad everyone can't afford LASIK. Well, guess what? There's a company that agrees with you. TLC Laser Eye Centers is now offering great prices on high-quality LASIK to make it affordable for everyone. That means you get the latest FDA-approved all-laser LASIK technology for less than what others charge. And if you call right now, we'll schedule a free appointment so you can discover if LASIK is right for you. Results may vary. Call 1-800-930-9765. Even better, if you're one of the first 100 callers, ask about an extra $400 off your all-laser LASIK procedure. That's $200 off per eye. We've already performed over 2 million procedures. Let us help you. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you deserve for less than what others charge. For your free appointment, call 1-800-930-9765. 1-800-930-9765.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website, fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us on the radio waves here. Bring up whatever's on your mind. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. If you like Free Talk Live and you love it when we just talk to crazy people, because sometimes we do that. A lot of times we talk about the ideas of freedom, and if you like that too, then you can help support the show. Go to amp.freetalklive.com. Become a Free Talk Live amplifier for $5 a month. It makes a huge difference for us when you do that. It allows us to market the show effectively and bring Free Talk Live to more radio stations. We've got 170 so far, so we're sort of like, one of the mid-sized syndicated shows out there. We could have 3, 4, even 500 stations. It's all possible, but your assistance is necessary because this is a pretty small operation here. And so we really appreciate everybody who becomes a Free Talk Live amplifier. And you get perks. You get AMP-only perks like the AMP-only podcast, the AMP-only phone lines, the AMP-only Facebook group, all for $5 a month with any major credit card through PayPal, or use Visa and MasterCard right on our website at amp.freetalklive.com, amp.freetalklive.com. We're going to continue with your calls and thoughts. Then coming up more on not the Brexit, but other exit movements. There's one in Spain that you touched on earlier, Darryl.
Catalonia.
There's an update from NH Exit, which is the New Hampshire exiting movement. So you're free, of course, free to call in about whatever's on your mind. Also, 855-450-FREE. Let's go to Arizona, where Neil is on the line listening in Golden Shores to K-Talks. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, buddy. I hope you let me say what I got to say.
Yes, sir.
Because I listen to you guys all the time, and I know that you tend to overtalk somebody when you don't agree with what they say. But and I can say they, and I can't say who they were, but I have seen video and pictures published from the dark side of the moon, from NASA, satellite, spacecraft, whatever the hell it was taken from, that did show somewhat possibility of existence of structures and or highways on the dark side of the moon. Haven't you guys seen any of that?
I'm actually looking at them right now. When I saw your call was on hold, I went and pulled up UFOsightingsdaily.com, aliens and ships, alien cities and ships found on the dark side of the moon. And most of these photos are, pretty much just moon craters.
It's not hard. It's not hard, cold fact, but you got to give it the possibility there, right?
Well, anything's possible. Okay, I'll give you that anything's possible. Is it probable? No.
Well, it's pretty arrogant to think that we're the only people in the universe.
Think that. I wouldn't think that for a moment, sir. I just don't think that people are on the moon, an inhospitable place.
And also another thing that you guys did that kind of offended me, because I have the utmost respect for this man, is you guys kind of like put down Coast to Coast AM and George Noory. I haven't met the man in person. He does a lot of research. Yes, he gives everybody a voice.
I got news for you.
Whether he agrees with them or not, he lets them talk.
That's true. That's what we do here too. We, let anybody call in about anything they want. It's just usually we don't get the conspiracy nuts on the line here too often, but they do call in. But I got a little bit of news for you. George Noory, for those that don't know, he's the man who took over the reins for Coast to Coast AM from Art Bell. Art Bell was the founder of that show. He held that show down. Yes, I realize you know that, Neil. I'm explaining for listeners who may not be aware who George Noory is. Not everyone knows who George Noory is. Not everyone listens to Free Talk Live. Not everyone does everything you do. So let's go on here. Anyway, George Noory took over the reins of this overnight show, which is a real, stellar show as far as its performance over the years. It's still around. I don't insult George Noory, and I didn't insult George Noory.
And I don't think I did either.
No, I laughed at the claim that there are, people, ostensibly humans, living on the dark side of the moon, which is a claim that was likely made by a caller to George Noory's show.
The man has a very entertaining show.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is very entertaining. I know that Game of Thrones is not real, but there are people that, because it's talk radio, it has to be real.
And part of the show that is Coast to Coast is that, like you said, any crackpot can call into the show, and the show host will pretend to take them seriously. Now, I say pretend, and the reason I say that is not necessarily speculation. I guess it's speculation when it comes to George Noory, but I did see Art Bell give an acceptance speech at one of the talk show conferences we go to. Mark and I, Mark is the sometimes co-host of the show. He's been on it for a while. We've made a habit of going to these talk show conferences over the last decade, and one of the conferences that's no longer being held, it was the Radio and Records talk show conference. Radio and Records went out of business a few years ago.
Long time ago.
Several years now, yeah. But anyway, they used to have a conference that would alternate between the East Coast and the West Coast, and one year it was on the West Coast, and they would give a Lifetime Achievement Award to somebody in the business. And it wasn't always a talk show host who would receive it. It could be, an executive or something like that of one of the talk syndicates.
Yeah.
So it was Art Bell who was selected to receive this award. And his speech that he gave was very revealing of who the real Art Bell was. It was pretty clear based on what Art Bell said. Now, obviously, you got to take this as hearsay because you weren't there. But I was there. I saw the speech. Whether there's a video of it somewhere out there, I don't know. But I saw this happen, and Mark will back me up on this. If he were here, he would back me up. Art Bell basically made fun of his listeners and made fun of his callers on the stage. It was clear that it was all, it was a show. It was an act. He's playing. He was feigning interest. He didn't think that what most of the people who called his show, was anything that they were saying was true. He didn't think that for a moment. It was pretty clear that he's just playing host on an overnight show, which attracts a bunch of conspiracy kooks and crackpots. That's a fact.
Have you guys been keeping up lately with what went on with Art Bell's new show, Midnight in the Desert?
Yeah, he took it off the air.
Off the air by people shooting bullets at his house.
Well, there was an alleged shooter. I suspect it was not more than one. But yes, there was someone who was threatening Art Bell and who allegedly shot at his home in Nevada. I believe he was in Nevada.
He turned it over to Heather Wade. She's on there now, running Midnight in the Desert.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that the brand that he created is still continuing. Haven't heard much in the industry about that show since Art left it, so I don't know how its growth has been or if it really has done much more than stagnate since Art left the helm. He didn't last very long. He was only on it for a few weeks, if that, before deciding to call it quits again. So Art's kind of had an on again, off again. But what are your thoughts? I mean, besides just looking at what he's done recently, what are your thoughts about what I told you about what he said, what I witnessed him say on the air?
Well, I wish I could find a place where I could actually listen to it, because I have personally, I mean, I've listened to Art for years, and I've never really heard him talk down to his listeners.
He wouldn't do it on the air. He did it when he was in a group of people he considered his compatriots, his contemporaries, people who were in the business with him. That's who was in that room. It wasn't his listeners. It was business people in the radio industry. And I'm not saying Art's a bad guy. I'm not saying he's a mean man. I'm just telling you that he doesn't take it as seriously as he wants you to think that he takes doing that show. Now, whether George Noory does or doesn't, I can't say. I have never seen George Noory speak about his feelings about doing that show, so perhaps he's a true believer and he's on board with all this stuff, but I highly doubt it. I suspect he's just a man who's, he's found a good way to make some money. Hey, thanks for the call, Neil. I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
I actually ran into George at the casino over in Laughlin by accident. He was a very nice guy.
I bet he was. Yep, I haven't indicted him at all. I haven't had the chance to meet the man, but I got no reason to think he's not a nice guy. Just because he's a nice guy doesn't mean he's not putting on a show. You understand that?
I want to thank you guys for taking my call and not just disconnecting from me and not saying goodbye, because that's my biggest bitch with radio talk show hosts. They never say goodbye.
We always say goodbye, and thanks for the call, Neil. Appreciate it. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Well, not always goodbye, but thanks for the call. Sort of goodbye for the radio. 855-450-FREE. It actually harkens back to a time when we didn't even control the phones on the show years ago, before the technology of the internet, or at least before the technology had come along as far as it has. Our board operator would have to listen for us to say, thanks for the call. That was That was the cue that it was time to hang up the phone on the person. So if the poor frazzled board operator at the Genesis Communications Network, who usually has to run like 2 shows at once, so I don't know how the hell they do it. They're obviously pretty good at what they do. But sometimes if you're distracted by thing A, and then we're over here saying thanks for the call, and he didn't hear it, sometimes the person who was talking would still continue talking, and they might have been cursing at the time, and so that can make things a little complicated. So now we've got a nice little phone control here, and we can put people on hold and drop them and put them on the air and things like that. So yeah, George Noory, Art Bell, probably fine gentlemen, but I doubt they believe everything that you say when you call into the show. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, July 1st, 2016. Silver is trading at $19.21 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,334 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $681. Antiwar.com reports a pair of Afghan suicide attackers on Thursday attacked a major convoy of Afghan police buses carrying a large group of newly graduated cadets, killing at least 34 people. 30 of them were identified as officers, with the other 4 apparently civilian bystanders. One of the suicide attackers was said to be in a vehicle full of explosives, while the other was apparently on foot with a suicide charge. The buses were headed to Kabul from the west at the time of the attack, along the road from Kabul to Wardak. According to a Taliban spokesman, the attacker on foot struck first, and then the car bomber rammed into the convoy as the emergency services arrived to tend to the wounded, a common strategy for such attacks. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani condemned the attack as a crime against humanity and said he is launching an investigation to see how the Taliban managed to find out about the convoy in advance to launch such a coordinated strike. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. UPI reports the State Department has asked a judge for 2 more years to sort through emails from former aides to Hillary Clinton, saying the search method the department used was faulty and omitted thousands more emails than initially thought relevant to a lawsuit by a conservative group. The group, Citizens United, sued the State Department last year, seeking access to emails sent by 4 former Clinton aides. The suit seeks access to emails regarding the Clinton Foundation and Teneo Consulting, a firm with close ties to the Clintons. U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras ordered the State Department to make the emails available to Citizens United by July 21st. But now the State Department lawyer said in a legal filing that there may be thousands more emails potentially relevant to the lawsuit than initially thought, and due to the large number of Freedom of Information lawsuits and requests generated by the revelation that Clinton used a private email server while Secretary of State, it could take up to 27 months to complete the work. State Department Freedom of Information Officer Eric Stein said the agency initially only searched the to and from lines in its email database to determine how many emails might be relevant to the Citizens United case, but that search method excluded forwarded emails and other items that text searches for various related phrases did not, leading to thousands more emails that must be reviewed for relevance and national security redactions. Stein said the agency is reviewing the emails at a rate of about 500 per month. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a Secret Service agent who stole money seized by the government in the investigation of the drug bazaar Silk Road is now suspected of stealing money in at least 2 other cases, according to court filings unsealed on Thursday. In the larger of those cases, he is thought to have been behind the theft of about $700,000 worth of Bitcoin from a Secret Service account 3 months after the agency was urged to block his access, according to court documents. Former Secret Service agent Sean Bridges pled guilty last year and was sentenced in December to nearly 6 years in prison for stealing more than $800,000 worth of Bitcoin during the Silk Road investigation. According to an affidavit unsealed on Thursday, the Justice Department learned in April 2015 that Bridges might have kept a private cryptographic key giving him access to a Bitcoin wallet with $700,000 in currency that the Silk Road Task Force had seized in 2014. The department urged the agency to move the funds elsewhere. Both the Secret Service and Bridges' attorney, Stephen Levin, declined comment. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
After vetting the 37-year-old for factors such as looks, screen presence, and film credits, Hollywood insiders unanimously agreed this week that area man Dennis Kiernan lacks the sheer star power necessary to carry a major motion picture. Industry experts spoke to reporters today about the Charlottesville, Virginia resident, who they say just doesn't have what it takes to crack into the A-list.
Love him or hate him, I think we can all agree that Dennis Kiernan is not a bankable star. He's got to have sex appeal, talent, charisma, and most importantly, that X factor. I should want to sleep with Dennis. I should want to be Dennis. Do I want to be Dennis? No.
Experts agreed the Virginia native and father of one does not have the widespread appeal required to secure a distribution deal with wide release, while also saying they had no reason to believe Kiernan would ever be capable of delivering the type of powerhouse performance that generates buzz at Sundance, Cannes, or Comic-Con.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything that you want. We're launching into the second hour of the program. Secession, yet again, the topic of the night here. But of course, you can bring up anything. It's not all about what we want to discuss. You may take control of the airwaves. 855-450-FREE is the toll-free number that allows you to do that. 855-450-3733 with you tonight. Ian here.
And Darryl.
We've got Skype as well. So Skype on in at username LRN.FM. Last hour, Darryl, you told us the Brexit may be in jeopardy, that there are some things that, of course, the politicos could do to try to change, maybe have a second referendum.
Yes.
Or, somehow short-circuit the entire process of making sure these things happen. Just sort of ignore basically what the voters wanted.
Or have them leave in name only but still participate in the Schengen region and the economic whatever it's called.
But whatever happens in Britain, we'll certainly keep our eyes on it. But in the meantime, there are other exit movements that have been spawned or respawned, if you will, like New Hampshire has had secessionists prior to the Brexit. But now the New Hampshire secession crowd has adopted the NHexit moniker, which, of course, is a good way to get some press. And that's what's been going on here over the last week since actually it was last Sunday night. Dave Ridley, who's called this show a number of times from RidleyReport.com, he called for a protest outside of the federal building in Manchester, New Hampshire. They had some folks show up. News media, a couple of them did show. There was a reporter there from the Concord Monitor, as well as, I believe, NH1 Television. And the Concord Monitor published their story relatively quickly. And, of course, media being sort of a monkey-see, monkey-do business, others piled on. They didn't take the time to write their own stories, but they did sort of report, the Concord Monitor has reported, blah, blah, blah. And they had a shorter kind of summary story of what had gone on. But regardless, even though there wasn't a whole lot of original reporting on this, it has spawned several iterations of a similar report going on in, sort of regional media. It's gotten as far away as Boston, and I believe the AP might have done a piece, but certainly there's been some Boston media, and there's been plenty of New Hampshire media. It has been the subject of conversation on at least a couple of talk shows, not including Free Talk Live, from what I understand. And it's also now been the subject of a newspaper editorial. This story from the Valley News at vnews.com. Now, the Valley News is the upper valley of New Hampshire, which is the Lebanon area. It's about an hour north.
So like the Lakes region?
No. West of Concord.
Oh,
so
wait.
Lakes
Lebanon.
region is,
okay. Lebanon is
Lebanon's
near
right by the border.
Vermont border.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's that region, the Lebanon region. Dartmouth College is up that way. So Valley News, vnews.com. Headline, editorial, NHexit next. As England goes, so goes New Hampshire. Less than a week after Great Britain turned the world upside down with its Brexit vote, a small group of Granite Staters hopes to follow suit. Give them their due. NHexit is a catchy slogan, even if, as is almost certain, it never catches on. According to the Concord Monitor, 13 people turned up for NHexit's first event last Sunday in front of the Norris Cotton Federal Building in Manchester. Many a family picnic drew bigger crowds that day. But every revolution has to start somewhere. Can you tell this news editorial
condescending much?
Is against the NHXit? NHXit members want New Hampshire to secede and form a republic based on the state constitution, which NHXit founder David Ridley of Bedford says is not perfect, but is the, quote, least bad government on the planet, unquote. Their grievances with the United States involve, among other things, high taxes and perceived invasions of privacy. Oh, they're only perceiving the invasions of privacy. The federal government has never actually invaded your privacy. No. That whole Edward Snowden thing, he's just a disgruntled ex-employee.
Yeah,
right?
And one thing that's interesting about, that whole Edward Snowden thing is there was the lawsuit that was basically dismissed a couple of months before the Snowden revelations came out. And the court said, well, you don't have proof that the government's spying on you.
Dismissed.
So dismissed.
Yeah.
And then it comes out, well, wait a second, all these things that we're alleging are actually being done. Well, it doesn't matter. Case was already dismissed.
Member Stephen Zeiler of Portsmouth said by the way, member. So this is the way news media perceives everything. Everything must be organized hierarchically. That
there's groups and groups have members.
Right. Somebody has to be in charge, and there's members, so on and so forth. So they're calling Stephen Zeiler a member because he was at the protest. It doesn't mean he's a member of anything, but he certainly does support independence. In fact,
he was part of the group of 13 people.
Okay, I guess you could say group member.
There was a group. Groups have members.
Yeah. Fair enough. But it suggests more than that.
It does.
Doesn't it?
I'm just giving you
There's no
overly
sign-up process.
layman's version of there was a group. He was part of it, so therefore he's a member of the group.
Yeah. There's no sign-up process, though, to be part of NHXit. You just sort of do.
Well, there should be.
You can join a group on Facebook, I guess. That's a group member thing. Anyway, he says he advocates, quote, personal independence, people taking responsibility for their communities and their own lives, unquote. Why that cannot be achieved in New Hampshire, where the heavy hand of the federal government is mostly felt by those who look for the FBI and NSA around every corner, is not clear. Boy, it must be interesting to live in the world that these people do, who believe that because the federal government is not actively bombing the state of New Hampshire, that the federal government is somehow imperceptible to people that live here. Most people probably pay taxes, federal taxes, and let me tell you, at around that time of year, it's real obvious that the federal government is involved in your life. Because if they weren't involved in your life, you'd be doing something else.
Right.
No one actually wants to pay taxes, unless
there are some people.
There are a very, very small amount of people. I'll take it back.
And there are a couple of states, and I know Arizona is one of them, where they have basically an I didn't pay enough tax line on the state income tax form. And I realize state income tax form is something absolutely foreign to you, Ian, because you've never lived in a state that had those.
That's right.
But basically how the feds say you have to file this form, some states say you have to file this form.
That's right.
And Arizona is one of those states, and they actually have a line of I didn't pay enough tax, so bill me more. And then you get to say how much you want to have them, bill you, and then you send them a check.
What do you think the percentage of people who pay more on taxes is than they have to?
Oh, it's a very small percentage.
Less than 1%, do you think? I'd be curious to know.
I don't know what the percentage is. I do recall reading something about the first year that they had this on the form.
How much was given?
It was like $35,000 extra dollars that they raised.
That's probably no more than a handful of people. Probably some really wealthy people just scribbled a few extra thousand in there, would be my guess. But either way, it's not impressive. It's not an impressive number at all. And that does indicate that people don't like the federal government taking money from them. Now, most of them will justify it by saying, well, we have to have it. We need protection.
I wonder, and this is something that I don't know, so I'm asking the question out loud, of the people that live in, say, Arizona, to where you can say, I didn't pay enough state tax. Does that then subtract off of whatever your federal tax liability, because
as a deduction,
right? Because then it reduces whatever your income, your total income was at the end of the year.
I don't know. It's a good question. If you know and you can explain it, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Melanie was just in here. We would have asked her if we'd known we were going to talk about that.
Yes.
Anyway, going on. So the newspaper here, the Valley News, is just astonished that there are people who believe that the federal government is overbearing. They say that you have to look for the FBI and the NSA around every corner. Those are the kind of people who are upset about the federal government. Hey, isn't that federal government just keeping us all safe? Don't we need to have them out there to protect us?
Isn't it wonderful that a federal court ruled recently that anything you do on a computer, if it's connected to the internet, is not considered to be private?
Toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. That's not a heavy hand, Darryl. They're just trying to keep you safe. 855-450-3733. You can take control. More of their editorial coming up on Free Talk Live.
This is a warning to all household pests, to all cockroaches, spiders, ants, rodents, and other pests. If you've just made yourself at home in someone else's home, you'd better hope the owners never hear about Terminix, because Terminix has the know-how and the means to do whatever it takes to remove you from that home. Terminix has over 85 years of experience exterminating invaders like you. And right now, they're making it easier than ever for homes to be protected by offering a free pest estimate to every caller at 1-800-689-2939. Cockroaches, spiders, ants, rodents, and other pests. This is your eviction notice. With one call, Terminix will remove you from the home you've invaded. If you think you can simply come back later, think again. Terminix will protect that home with a 100% satisfaction money-back guarantee, so you can never return. Warning, homeowners are calling Terminix right now for a free pest estimate at 1-800-689-2939. 1-800-689-2939.
Limitations apply. See plan for details.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com. I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin. mymagicmud.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live. Dial in toll-free and join us here toll-free at 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. We're talking about secession. Yes, it's a hot topic, and I'm grateful for it. I'm glad people are talking about it. Some are making fun, but that's okay. I don't know who it was that said it. I know Gandhi gets credit, but I've heard he wasn't the one. But first they laugh at you. Or actually, first they ignore you. Then they laugh at you. Then they fight you. Then you win. And we're in the laughing phase right now. So, you secessionists, you guys, you think the federal government is just so overbearing. Come on. That's the attitude so far of this Valley News editorial. It's like, only 13 of you came out to the first protest in front of the Manchester Federal Building. More people went to a picnic, a family picnic this weekend than went to your protest. Clearly, people don't care about secession here in New Hampshire. That's their viewpoint so far. We'll continue it here in moments. You can also join us online at freetalklive.com, where you can control the topics on the website. We've got a front page that's a Reddit-based site that allows you to submit some sort of news item or YouTube video, something fun, something entertaining, something outrageous, whatever you want. You submit it there, whatever you think our listeners will appreciate. They will vote whether they like or dislike, and you can go and get interactive there for free, of course, over at freetalklive.com. As we go to your phone calls and thoughts, and then we'll continue the Valley News editorial piece attacking the local secessionists here in New Hampshire. First up, though, Rudy's on the line in Bullhead City, listening to K-Talks. Hey, Rudy.
And Darryl.
Welcome.
I want to. The thing about two things. The thing about the Arizona on the income tax. A few years ago, I think there was some kind of an amnesty thing that they put up. I forget. Maybe that was it. It was you could claim that you owed taxes and they wouldn't penalize you. I think that's what that was.
Because they wanted you to pay up. I mean, they'd much rather have you pony up than put you in a jail cell for taxes.
Yeah,
right. Because if they put you in a jail cell, then it costs them money.
Oh no! Out here it costs in Mojave County Jail. It costs $98 a day to be in jail, and they charge. And I'm not kidding. You get out of jail with an incredible bill.
Oh, my God. They're one of those places? That's happening more and more often around the country where jails will charge for the amounts, some sort of arbitrary amount, like, the amount you'd pay a hotel to stay in their facility. And then if you don't pay that back, well, guess what? They're going to rearrest you, won't they?
And you get charged to the public defender also.
And are these what they call the private prisons that nobody could see me using the air quotes there?
Nope.
Because a lot of states, and I know New Mexico has these, where they're called private prisons, but it's basically the government-run prison that's being operated by some third-party, private company.
Yeah.
But they have written into their agreements that the government will provide them with like 90% capacity at all times or pay a penalty. So, it's not an actual private entity. Like a privately run prison would not have a contract with the government saying you're going to keep us at 90% capacity.
Go ahead, Rudy.
On the prison thing, only the state can take away your liberty. It should be the state that controls you, right? I mean,
well, I don't think the state should exist, but
I mean, you murdered somebody, they're going to put you away. They've got to do that. Okay, but you don't contract out the incarceration. for profit.
Well, I don't personally have an objection to the concept of having other people besides the state do that job, but I object generally to how it's operated, meaning that
because there's a monopoly,
right? They
so
give
it's
it
not
to
like
somebody.
5 different prisons that are operating in a different area, and people decide which one they want to.
It's a
send
government
the person
granted
to.
monopoly. It's a government approved. Sort of good old boys network. Somebody who's a buddy with somebody else got that contract kind of deal. And so when those private prisons, don't honor people's rights like they're supposed to, and by the way, government prisons aren't very good at honoring people's rights either.
Right.
But when the private prisons do it, then it looks bad because, that's a failure of so-called privatization. And I think privatization generally does fail in a lot of ways because it is government monopoly. We don't have a true market in competition for the service of actually, what do you want to use the term? Rehabilitative services. The government prisons, the private prisons probably don't do a very good job at that either because ultimately there's no real choice in that marketplace. It'd be one thing if the person who was going to jail could have some sort of say in which facility they ended up in based on them competing for his business, shall we call it that. But at the very least, that would add something that is currently missing to the picture.
The reason why I called, I want to thank you when you talked about when you were at a talkers convention or award ceremony, and Arpaio went up there and he said what you said. He said, it made so much sense because I listened to that show because it's on K-Fox, and I can't believe how idiotic some of these guests are that they come up with. They talk about half human, half ET creatures walking around. They go from the most bizarre things, and George Noory just sits there and he just talks like it's normal. He'll go from the sky over Phoenix to underwater. Oh no, here's one we talked about. At the South Pole, 3,000 feet underneath the South Pole ice, there is a pyramid from when all the continents were one big lump before they broke up, right? One landmass. Yeah, there's a.
Well, maybe it's true. Who knows? Like our caller pointed out earlier, things like that could be possible. How probable they are, I don't know. Probably not so much.
Anyway, I want to thank you. Like I say, you can't listen to that show for any. Oh, by the way, I've heard him for the last 3 nights. He has been pushing for, quote, tactical nuclear strikes on ISIS.
Oh, God.
I'm not kidding. He talks, he doesn't just say once. He talks about like how feasible this is.
See, now that sounds like something he actually believes. He's not just humoring somebody.
Shut up. What are you talking about? First of all, it's not a state. It's not a nation state. You can't go to war against a bunch of people that don't have, they're just a bunch of dudes out in the desert.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about destroying all kinds of innocent lives, and that's horrifying. Rudy, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate it. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE, referring back to a conversation we had earlier with a caller who was believing everything that he heard on the Art Bell show or what is now the George Noory's Coast to Coast AM. And I related the story of having heard Art Bell receive a Lifetime Achievement Award where he basically revealed that he had always thought that most of his callers were ridiculous. And, I'm paraphrasing here what he said. It's been years since I saw the speech. But essentially, making it clear he's just doing a show. Sort of like War of the Worlds was a show. The aliens weren't really invading. Now, it was much more realistic and believable because it was a radio drama, but there really isn't that much of a difference between War of the Worlds and Coast to Coast AM. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today. Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Sling bow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of sling bow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Thursday, gold is $18 higher at $1,340 per ounce, and silver is 58 cents higher at $19.35 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $675 US. Since January 1st, gold is up 20%, and silver is up 39%. For more information, call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit, did your nerves spike? You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free, bring up what you want right here at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. Skype on in here. Username is LRN.FM. Freedom's Phoenix is a liberty-oriented news aggregation site. Do you want the newest and freshest stories and perspectives on current events from those who value liberty? Well, freedomsphoenix.com has that. Their daily dispatch is the best way to stay up to date on science, technology, historical findings, liberty news, government overspending, and the rise of the police state. Freedoms with an S, Phoenix.com. That's freedomsphoenix.com. It's Ian and Darryl in here tonight talking with you about secession. But there have been other topics like Coast to Coast AM, crazy claims about people living on the other side of the moon. You know, we'll take your calls about anything.
Pyramids beneath Antarctica.
That was
on top of Antarctica, and not tonight, but we have had people say that Antarctica doesn't even exist.
Wow. All right then. So yeah, you can make any claim you want, whether you back it up or not. Well, that's up to you. Meanwhile, we're talking about secession. We're going to go back to the phones and to the fun. Then we'll continue with an editorial piece that just thinks this whole secession movement is silly and unnecessary and kind of looks down its nose at it. We'll get into it here in moments. But first, Rusty is in Texas. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Rusty.
Hey, howdy, guys.
Hey.
First off the bat, I just wanted to say that I heard the Earth was hollow and that the Nazis are actually inside the hollow Earth.
Okay. Hitler's hiding out down there, huh? With Elvis?
Yeah, there's a documentary called Iron Sky 2, I think, about it. But besides that, I wanted to give kind of update on the Texas kind of secession movement.
Yeah, sure. The Texit, as it's now being called.
Yes. Actually, Donald Trump has commented on it when he was in Scotland. A reporter asked him, what do you think about, people in the U.S. wanting to leave? They view Washington the same way that Britain viewed Brussels. He said, well, Texas will never do that because Texas loves me. Just kind of avoid the question. But Texas will. It doesn't matter who the president is. It's too late to kind of right the ship. There's too many problems. You have people in Texas calling for Abbott to, basically nullify the Supreme Court ruling on abortion, where a doctor would have to be able to have, patient admitting privileges. It's just that if you're going to take it that step where you want nullification, why not just go one more and call for independence? Because there's so many federal laws and regulations that, we don't elect anybody or we don't elect anybody. We don't have any accountability to these officials that craft these laws. It's just time. The debt's out of control. It's nothing we do now, I think, can really right the ship. There's just too many problems with it.
And you think the state legislators there in Texas are accountable?
No. Well, it's a lot easier to go to Austin than it is to go to D.C. I'll put it that way. And then I think our representatives have a smaller district than our congressmen, because when the U.S. was founded, I think it was like 60 or 80,000 people each had a congressman.
How many Texas legislators are there? Do you know, Rusty?
257, I want to say.
257.
I could be off. I haven't.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is because up here in New Hampshire, we got 400 state legislators, and that's over a much smaller landmass and a smaller population as well.
There are 150 representatives and 31 senators.
Okay, so about
181 total.
Not a whole lot.
150 state reps, 31 senators.
Not a whole lot. But he's right, though, in that it is easier to go to Austin if you're in Texas than it is to go to D.C. I'll give him that. That much is true. It's not particularly easy to go to Austin if you live across the state or whatever, but nonetheless, not every place can be New Hampshire.
Yeah,
and
somebody from El Paso might, find it not that much more difficult to just fly to D.C.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there. Well, anyway, Rusty, I'm not trying to down what you guys are doing. I hope that the Texas secession thing flies forward. I hope that it is successful. I hope that I wish you all the best. You guys definitely have something, more, I guess, sticky so far than any other state secession movement. It's been around for a long time. It's being taken more seriously now than it ever has been taken. And there's a fair amount of people that are involved in it down there. So kudos to you guys for that. Hopefully other states and people in other states will look at that and decide to some extent to emulate that, although I have concerns for the type of people who are within the secession movement in Texas. I think there are a lot of people who want to see, let's say, a theocracy rise up, as well as walls along the border of Texas. And it doesn't seem like if it does secede, will be a particularly freedom-friendly place. I mean, it certainly will be freedom-friendly in some ways. I've heard Texas is a good place to have a business. But as far as, issues like immigration or the war on drugs, for instance, those may get worse. Don't you think?
Well, those are problems that come after we become independent. You could what if anything to death.
Sure.
I think the first step is just get where we can have that conversation and debate, and that would be an independent nation. You can do that now, but you're never going to reach a point. It just turns people off. If you just focus on let's become independent, then we can talk about these issues. I think that's a lot better message. I too have concerns about the theocratic kind of influence, but I think it's overblown a lot. Not everyone's like that. It's just a small fringe that's very vocal within the movement. I wish you all the best of luck. I'm sorry this editor has kind of done a tongue-in-cheek article.
It's totally fine. I think it's great. I mean, the more the mainstream media attacks the idea of New Hampshire leaving the United States, the more it gets talked about. The more people will have an excuse to discuss it. And I think we're going to, by the way, just to be fair, I think that if New Hampshire were to secede tomorrow, we'd have the same issues. We'd still have xenophobes in the state legislature. There's plenty of them. And so they would want to close down the border. They would want to have border, security. That would become a huge issue relatively quickly between people that support freedom and people that support protectionism and lockdowns and checkpoints and things like that. So by no means is it true that those people do not exist in New Hampshire. They definitely exist here, and I think that would be a concern. Theocracy. New Hampshire is less likely to do that because people tend to kind of keep to themselves with religion up here. It's a much more kind of religiously free experience, meaning that people leave each other alone on that front. Anyway, Rusty, keep us in the loop as things develop there. Thank you for the call tonight, and we'll continue to compare notes. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. I don't care if people are making fun of it. If they're talking about the issue, that's a step in the right direction, because people talking about it gives people the excuse to think about it. Right. Gives them the excuse to consider it, especially if it starts to become something they see as a serious effort, where it's not just a dozen people on the street corner protesting, it's somebody in the workplace talking about it being in favor of it. It's somebody at their church talking about being in favor of it. Somebody that they know, someone in their family talking about it. As more people discuss these things, the closer it becomes to being real. You've got to believe that it's possible before it will be possible. I mean, it's possible now. Anything's possible, but is it probable? Not at the moment. If there were a vote held tomorrow, odds are good Texas, New Hampshire probably would not vote to secede because people need to be persuaded. Right. People are going to come up with objections. That's what the sales process is. When you're trying to sell someone a product or service, that person doesn't necessarily think they need it. So a good salesperson is going to help someone discover that they actually do, in fact, need this product or service. They just didn't realize it. So there's plenty of people out there that, yeah, their life is pretty normal. They feel like everything's okay. Sure, they don't like paying taxes. Yeah, when it's brought to their attention, they don't like the idea that the country's at war. So there are certainly things about the federal government that when they hear them, they don't like it. But they generally don't think that much about it. Right. They're just trying to live their own lives. They're trying to get the bills paid, try to put food on the table for the family, pay off the mortgage, and whatever other normal things people do.
And for those of us who actually think about the horrible things that the federal government does, we're just looking for the CIA and FBI around every corner.
Well, that's what the media says here, and we'll continue with their story in moments. 855-450-FREE, that's 855-450-3733. You may take control of the airwaves. And this is Free Talk Live.
Everything we tried failed except the Dynovite.
The standard run-of-the-mill tests and treatments.
Cortisone.
Antihistamine.
Multiple creams. Antibiotics. Spray. Multiple prescriptions.
Steroid injections.
Spray. The sharp antibiotics.
Steroid creams.
No results.
It was neglect. The other owners didn't care enough about him to take care of him and to give him the nutrition he needed.
A nutritional supplement like Dynovite.
To be the healthy, happy dog he is today.
DINOVITE.com.
If you want the dog to be healthy, you got to feed it something healthy. Put some nutrition in your dog. The vet that I trust recommended Dynovite. The dog I have today, because of Dynovite, has a sparkle in his eye, a lush coat, healthy skin.
When you rescue a dog, you've got to feed him right for life.
Dynovite will make your dog a happy dog.
Dynovite is nutrition.
Dynovite for life.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Joel Wallach, the Mineral Doctor. You've heard me talk about 90 for Life for years. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 fatty acids. You may not know this, that I've actually designed Arthrodex for animals. That's right. Your pets need 90 for Life, too. Get this essential pet product by calling 877-279-9422. That's 877-279-9422. Again, 877-279-9422.
Are you living your passion? Are you pumped to go to work because you get to talk about or work with or do the things that interest you the most? Is working, playing, and relaxing one and the same? As long as you're working for someone else, you'll never be living entirely true to yourself and your passion. I'm Pharmacist Keith. Let me show you how you can work around your current schedule, create the extra income so you can live your passion. Visit radio.recordedvideo.com. That's radio.recordedvideo.com. radio.recordedvideo.com.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Dial in toll free and join us here. Bring up whatever you want to discuss. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Skype into the show. It's Skype username LRN.FM. We will continue with an insulting editorial from the Valley News, a newspaper here in New Hampshire, attacking the NHexit movement. And I think it's a good sign when you've got newspapers, the old guard, if you will, who have historically supported the state in a lot of its depredations and destruction of our lives. Not a surprise that they would support staying in the United States. We'll continue with that here in moments. It's Ian and Darryl in the studio. First, though, back to your phone calls and thoughts. Let's go to Scotty Ray in Arizona listening to K-Talks.
Hey, guys. Love the show. I just wanted to chime in.
Thanks. Go ahead.
Anytime you deal with the government or representatives, you never want to divulge more information than you have.
Sure, no doubt.
Also, I wanted to say, love Sarah from Albuquerque. Great, great, great. And as far as Secession, hey, more power to them. And the other item I wanted to add was...
Before you go on adding, is there a movement in Arizona? Have you heard any rumblings about an AZ exit?
You know, out here, I hear a lot of chatter, and these are good old boys out here in the desert, and they don't put up with too much.
I know Ernest Hancock had started something back in the 90s. Ernest Hancock being the host of Declare Your Independence
based
on the
Phoenix.
Liberty Radio Network. He's based in Phoenix. He started something back in the 90s, and I just did a search for Arizona secession, and The second thing is, just secede already, Arizona legislature. And it's a letter to, I'm thinking this is a letter to the editor written in the Arizona Republic.
All right, cool. So people are talking about it. All right, Scotty Ray,
go ahead. This is from March of last year.
All right, so go ahead with your other thoughts.
No, there's a lot of chatter, and like I said, these are good old boys out here, and I think maybe Trump should look for Arpaio as a vice president.
Oh God, Joe Arpaio, he probably would be a good fit with Donald Trump. I mean, all things considered, they are bombastic and ridiculous.
Arpaio's about 9,000 years old, though.
He's still holding office. He keeps getting reelected out there,
he
despite
does,
the corruption.
But he's probably going to wind up going to jail soon.
Maybe
because
federal prison, yeah.
Yeah, he keeps getting convicted of violating civil rights.
Hey, it's 107th day. There's nothing wrong with pink underwear.
Well, the whole Joe Arpaio situation, the way prisoners are treated in that system is pretty outrageous. And, there's I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. It's pretty extreme. It's a zero. I would call it a zero tolerance policy.
Yeah, and it hasn't stopped crime. I mean, so the idea that being tough on crime is going to stop crime, the evidence is clear that Phoenix is not a safe place, despite the fact that Mr. Arpaio has his big tough tent city with his rotting bologna sandwiches and the pink underwear, which my understanding the pink underwear is some sort of voluntary program. I forget what the details are around that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get involved. I wouldn't want to volunteer for it either.
But you've got, if it gets you out early, then you probably would. If
what are you going to do?
If it's going to cut my sentence in half, give me the pink underwear. Not a problem.
Wow.
But with the whole tent city thing, people may not know what that's all about. Arpaio actually keeps people outside in Arizona, and there have been people who've died of dehydration from that. He brags about how little he spends on feeding his prisoners. And I understand that, people who want to stick it to the criminals think that that's a good thing, but you have to remember he's imprisoning peaceful people. He's not just, it's not like there's a bunch of murderers out there in the deserts that are not given any water to drink. We're talking about drug dealers. We're talking about prostitutes, pimps, people who are not actual violent
drug users, not just dealers.
Right. People who have not actually harmed another human being. And Arpaio, and also immigrants as well. He loves to talk about making them the scapegoat and cracking down on them. So if it were only that Arpaio were going after real violent criminals who, rape, murder, or blow things up, arson, etc., then it would be hard for people to be as upset about the conditions. But actually, he wouldn't have to have Tent City because he wouldn't have an overfilled jail in that case. Scotty Ray, thanks for your call tonight, man. I appreciate it. Let's go to Joe. He's in New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live, watching us online on YouTube, which we haven't really talked about very much. But yes, we do still have our webcam. It's there for you anytime you want to see it. Just go to cam.freetalklive.com. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, guys. I got two questions for you.
Yes.
The first one, what is the first official, or let's say legal step for secession? How do you get it in motion?
Darryl, I'd love to hear your opinion about this. You certainly know more about the kind of the system here in New Hampshire. My guess is constitutional amendment, which has to be put forward by the state legislators and then voted on by the people.
I don't know exactly how you would go about doing this because the only time it ever went to the courts, Supreme Court said, secession's not allowed. While simultaneously saying that secession was allowed when West Virginia seceded from Virginia that had seceded. So they recognize that secession, but all of the other secessions, they're like, nope, those never happened because secession's not allowed. So I don't really know how you go about officially doing something that the federal government says you can't do.
Well, what do you think about what I proposed there? The constitutional amendment process, as I understand it, means that state reps have to put forward a CACR, some sort of constitutional amendment proposal. I don't know what the letters stand for. Constitutional amendment something resolution, concurrent
constitutional amendment concurred resolution, I believe.
So they put one of those forward, and then just like a regular bill, it would be heard. There'd be a hearing on it. Some committee would vote on it. The full state House would vote on it. The senators would presumably vote on it. I don't know if the senators have to vote on something that goes on the
right.
ballot.
So I'm pulling up the Constitution for the state of New Hampshire to see if it even mentions the United States, because the New Hampshire Constitution predates the United States of America.
It does, I think, mention it if the oath is in there, the oath of office, because the oath was added to later to include an oath to the United States. So that would be one thing that could change, would be to, and that could be like a symbolic change before we actually have a vote on secession, is to have some state representative put in a motion, or not a motion, but a bill that would remove the oath to the United States from the state oath of office.
That's in the oath of office is in the Constitution.
That's why I thought that it was. So that's at least one place that I know of that the United States appears. It may appear in more than one place. But then have an actual constitutional amendment on the ballot. I believe it has to get either 60% or 2/3. I don't recall. I know it is a larger than just a majority vote in order for it to pass. So it would be a much greater mandate if it did get passed by the voters in that case, because it wouldn't just be a simple majority. It would be a larger majority in that case. That's my best crack at how to do this. But I'd love to hear if you've got any suggestions, Joe.
Yeah. It's not necessarily a legal suggestion, but essentially sometimes the law catches up with the movement, and you have a place like Colorado, right, where marijuana is legalized, but it's not legal with the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering what your guys' opinions would be on something where New Hampshire basically says this is how we're going to be, and you kind of just dare the federal government to do something about it. We're only going to pay in for these things, and what are you going to do? Yeah,
well, you're talking generally about nullification there, and I support that. And I think that the whole secession thing could be one large FU, one large nullification. Like, don't worry about what the federal government's going to do. Just do whatever we can do on this side, presuming we can get enough support for it. If you could get a constitutional amendment that passes how it would be worded, the state of New Hampshire hereby leaves its agreement with the United States, nullifying its entire agreement in its entirety with the United States. Here, so be it, blah, blah, blah. Voted 60+%, it passes, and then just send your notice. Governor sends the notice to, here's what happened this year, in case you guys didn't hear. We're saying bye-bye, and then just see what happens.
So one thing that's interesting is the first reference to United States of America in the New Hampshire Constitution is Part 1, Article 7, titled State Sovereignty.
Okay.
And it says, the people have the sole and exclusive right to govern, blah, 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 except for things that are expressly delegated to the United States of America in Congress assembled, which was the name used in the Articles of Confederation. The United States was only referred to the United States in Congress assembled.
I think you're making a point here, but I want you to better explain it. Hang on, Darryl. 855-450-FREE. Joe, if you want to continue the conversation, you can too. This is Free Talk Live, Hour 3, coming up.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Well, tipping might be a great way. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card-sized Bitcoin tip that is easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets, spending, and returns to the user if unused? Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom, and with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more.
It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, July 1st, 2016. Silver is trading at $19.21 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,334 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $681. Antiwar.com reports a pair of Afghan suicide attackers on Thursday attacked a major convoy of Afghan police buses carrying a large group of newly graduated cadets, killing at least 34 people. 30 of them were identified as officers, with the other 4 apparently civilian bystanders. One of the suicide attackers was said to be in a vehicle full of explosives, while the other was apparently on foot with a suicide charge. The buses were headed to Kabul from the west at the time of the attack, along the road from Kabul to Wardak. According to a Taliban spokesman, the attacker on foot struck first, and then the car bomber rammed into the convoy as the emergency services arrived to tend to the wounded, a common strategy for such attacks. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani condemned the attack as a crime against humanity and said he is launching an investigation to see how the Taliban managed to find out about the convoy in advance to launch such a coordinated strike. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. UPI reports the State Department has asked a judge for 2 more years to sort through emails from former aides to Hillary Clinton, saying the search method the department used was faulty and omitted thousands more emails than initially thought relevant to a lawsuit by a conservative group. The group, Citizens United, sued the State Department last year, seeking access to emails sent by 4 former Clinton aides. The suit seeks access to emails regarding the Clinton Foundation and Teneo Consulting, a firm with close ties to the Clintons. U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras ordered the State Department to make the emails available to Citizens United by July 21st. But now the State Department lawyer said in a legal filing that there may be thousands more emails potentially relevant to the lawsuit than initially thought, and due to the large number of Freedom of Information lawsuits and requests generated by the revelation that Clinton used a private email server while Secretary of State, it could take up to 27 months to complete the work. State Department Freedom of Information Officer Eric Stein said the agency initially only searched the to and from lines in its email database to determine how many emails might be relevant to the Citizens United case, but that search method excluded forwarded emails and other items that text searches for various related phrases did not, leading to thousands more emails that must be reviewed for relevance and national security redactions. Stein said the agency is reviewing the emails at a rate of about 500 per month. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a Secret Service agent who stole money seized by the government in the investigation of the drug bazaar Silk Road is now suspected of stealing money in at least 2 other cases, according to court filings unsealed on Thursday. In the larger of those cases, he is thought to have been behind the theft of about $700,000 worth of Bitcoin from a Secret Service account 3 months after the agency was urged to block his access, according to court documents. Former Secret Service agent Sean Bridges pled guilty last year and was sentenced in December to nearly 6 years in prison for stealing more than $800,000 worth of Bitcoin during the Silk Road investigation. According to an affidavit unsealed on Thursday, the Justice Department learned in April 2015 that Bridges might have kept a private cryptographic key, giving him access to a Bitcoin wallet with $700,000 in currency that the Silk Road Task Force had seized in 2014. The department urged the agency to move the funds elsewhere. Both the Secret Service and Bridges' attorney, Stephen Levin, declined comment. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Readers rejoice! This week, Amazon unveiled the Kindle Flair, the latest model of their popular e-reader. The improved device has the ability to loudly and repeatedly announce the title of the book you're reading so everyone knows how smart you are.
Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut.
The hot new e-reader includes a massive catalog of titles, a sleek, easy-to-use interface, and a loud, clear voice that barks the name and author of your book on a loop. Amazon says the repetitive shouting is a small feature that makes a big difference. Readers say that with crystal clear 150 decibel stereo speakers, the Flair provides the most conspicuous reading experience yet. When you're not reading, the Flair automatically switches into bookshelf mode, which conserves power and reads off a list of everything on your Kindle.
Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, a confederacy of dunces.
And Amazon's competition has also stepped up their game as Apple released a new iPad that whispers, "I have an iPad," over and over again.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour of the program. You can join us here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Still talking about secession. We had started, I believe in the last hour, an editorial piece from the Valley News, which is a New Hampshire-based it's sort of central
Upper
western.
Valley.
Yeah, Upper Valley is what they call it. It's over there by the Lebanon area. Anyway, their newspaper editorial is pretty critical of the NH-Exit movement, the brand new NH-Exit movement. There have been secessionists here for a while. There's a couple of organizations that have been promoting it to, not a whole lot of fanfare because the news media hasn't really been covering it. But now they have been. They've been covering the NH-Exit idea, and this is part of that whole process where the old guard laughs at the new and puts them down. They're looking down their noses. They've been around for a long time. They know the way things have been and the way they always will be. Well, change is the one constant in our life, and whether secession comes to Texas or New Hampshire or some other state, odds are good it's coming, in my opinion. I think that, it's inevitable. These political relationships do not last forever. You may love the United States. You may love all the, apple pie and everything, all the stuff that it supposedly stands for. But ultimately, political affiliations, political joinings, they don't last forever. And this one's lasted too long, this whole United States experiment. It's actually gone on for longer than it should have by all of history's example. So it's high time for this to happen. Now with the internet, we can communicate better than ever. We can answer objections better than ever. Darryl, you just pulled up a copy of the New Hampshire Constitution in response to a question from Joe, who was on the line. He dropped off during the news, but he was asking, what's the process? What should we do here politically to actually move the ball forward with some sort of secessionist thing, some proposal? And you were reading something that seemed to mean something to you, but I don't know if it was really communicated what that meant to the audience. The idea of you were looking at looking for the words United States in the New Hampshire Constitution.
Yes.
What is it that you found?
So in Part 1, Article 7, and it's one long sentence, I'll just read it. It says the people of the state have the sole and exclusive right of governing themselves as a free, sovereign, and independent state, and do and forever hereafter shall exercise and enjoy every power, jurisdiction, and right pertaining thereto, which is not...
Before you go on, sovereign means you're in control. Sovereign means you're the king of your own domain.
Yes.
Independent, meaning not dependent on something larger than it, like the federal government.
Yes,
or anyone
and
else.
most people in New Hampshire like to point to Article 10, Part 1, Article 10, that is titled Right of Revolution.
Right.
But Article 7, has basically the very same sort of thought in slightly different wording, where it begins by saying the people have the sole and exclusive right of governing themselves.
That's huge.
Yes.
Of course, the New Hampshire government doesn't act like you have the right to govern yourself, but maybe they mean in collective terms. But it could mean
right, because it goes on to say as a free, sovereign, and independent state. But still, it begins by saying that you have the sole and exclusive right of governing yourself.
Yeah.
And then goes on to say, as part of this collective. But it says... and forever hereafter shall exercise and enjoy every power, jurisdiction, and right pertaining thereto, which is not or may not hereafter be by them expressly delegated to the United States of America in Congress assembled. That term, United States of America in Congress assembled, appears in a document that is no longer the governing document for the United States. It appears in the Articles of Confederation. The term United States of America in Congress assembled does not appear in the Constitution of the United States of America.
Interesting.
Meaning that, yes, I know that there is some, ratification group that ratified the Constitution on behalf of the people in New Hampshire, but the Constitution of the state of New Hampshire does not necessarily reflect that. Now, I was also searching through some of the RSAs, the revised statutes annotated, and found several references to various things about the United States of America,
Certainly.
United States government, stuff along those lines. So it's going to be, a little more complex than just, amending the Constitution. It would be amend the Constitution and then
strike all the references in the statutes.
Everything in statute, or just let's strike all the statutes and start over.
Well, I do like here that it says so it says here expressly delegated to the United States of America and in Congress assembled. Even if you don't accept your interpretation of that, like, oh, well, yeah, that was true at the time, but it still says United States of America, so whatever. We're still talking about the U.S. It does say they're expressly delegated to them. Not that the United States of America claims legitimately those rights and those concepts, but that the New Hampshire state would have to expressly delegate to them those powers, jurisdictions, and rights, which means that they could undelegate those things.
One would think.
Yeah. So I think that I think that the coast is clear, relatively speaking, for as far as constitutionally, this could happen. It could be the case. Whether the federal government will accept it, whether they will respect it, those are all questions we don't know.
And I don't think that in 1775, and yes, I intentionally said 1775, because people were having the discussions long before July of 1776.
Sure.
Over whether to have their own Brexit, if you will. And I don't know if anybody said, well, what's the law say on us seceding from the King of England?
Well, the king might not like that.
Yeah, right. So they did it. And in 1860, when South Carolina passed their own resolution of secession, or whatever it was actually called, they just adopted this thing of we're breaking away from the United States. And then they figured out let's create a new form of governance for the state of South Carolina. They did that afterwards. So, like divorce time, and then we move on with our life and we try and, find a new house and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I think we can do this. It just, people have to believe that. They have to believe that it's possible. And obviously the old guard is going to fight tooth and nail against it.
Of course.
They are going to want to oppose this because they like the status quo. they benefit from it. But not everyone in the old guard does benefit from the status quo. So there may actually be a split within some of the people in the state who, some of them probably don't like all the federal burdens. I mean, we've heard the city council complaining here about all the federal mandates that are placed upon them, that they have to jump through these hoops in order to, get the water processing facility up to EPA code or whatever. And so
if it weren't for those damn feds, we'd have a tilapia farm at the dump.
Well, they complain about the feds. I don't think, was it the feds that stood in the way of that? I don't think it was.
It was some federal regulation that there was absolutely no way to comply with.
So anyway, my point being that maybe it's not everyone in the state that would support that would support staying in the union. Maybe some of them feel like their jobs would be easier if they got out.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to run some polls.
I wonder how many of the anti-free staters would vote to secede so that they could then deport us back to our state of origin.
That's a good question. Let's get back to the story from the Valley News. This is the editorial where they are saying that people like us, people who want secession, we are seeing the heavy hand of the federal government because we're looking for the FBI and the NSA around every corner. Going on.
Were you looking for the FBI when they came into the LRN studio and took a bunch of equipment?
No, definitely not.
What were you looking for the NSA when they, did whatever it was that they did that you might not even know about?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. The Foundation for New Hampshire Independence, a nonprofit formed after President Obama won his second term, is in sympathy with NHExit. Its website doesn't offer specifics about a glorious future for a free granite state, but features a collection of nervous stories about coups, plots, and FBI powers. That's not how I read the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence website. I'm pretty sure it does give 10 express reasons why New Hampshire should secede, why things would be better without the federal government. 855-450-FREE, but the Valley News is attempting to paint us all as a bunch of paranoid nut jobs. 855-450-3733. We'll continue.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop. You save. Get full details in the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price can vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever's on your mind. Toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype, so Skype on in here at username LRN.FM. With you in studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Darryl.
And also want to let you know about My Pillow and Darryl's Pillow. It's not the same one, but it's the same brand.
Yes.
Same company. In fact, there's different fill levels that you can get for the My Pillow, but the My Pillow was introduced to me pretty recently. Apparently, they've had a huge TV campaign for a long time, and so many of you may already be familiar with My Pillow from that campaign.
Chris, our Thursday night co-host, he said last night he's had a My Pillow for a couple of years.
Really? Okay. Well, then that's a good endorsement because I'm relatively new to it, but I'm really enjoying the My Pillow. It is great because a lot of times chronic headaches, neck, and even back pain can be solved with the right pillow because your spine should be straight and parallel to the floor. Seems basic, but maybe you've never really thought about the positioning of your head because you've just taken your pillow for granted. You should concentrate on the position of your head and neck tonight when you go to bed. If you don't have a My Pillow, you may not be in the optimum position. Plus, it's a really interesting product because unlike every other pillow I've ever had, you can actually wash the My Pillow. You can actually put it through the laundry in the washer and the dryer. That is amazing because it means you can actually clean the thing, unlike every other pillow. So who knows what's inside your old pillow. Plus, if you go to mypillow.com and buy yourself a pillow, you don't have to worry about, do you believe the claims you're hearing on the radio and the television? Well, because there's a 60-day money-back guarantee. So really, you have nothing to lose here except more sleep. And if you get a bad night of sleep, it ruins everything. So this could be a solution for you. And again, you got nothing to lose here. Plus, you got everything to gain by using code FTL when you order at mypillow.com. If you don't use code FTL, they don't know we sent you because they've got a huge marketing organization behind MyPillow. We're not the only place they're advertising. So please use code FTL. And the reason why you want to for sure is because you'll get a second pillow for free. No brainer. I mean, even if you sleep alone, you should have two of these things. Why not? I put one between my legs and the other one.
I cuddle with one.
Yeah, there you go. That works too. MyPillow.com, code FTL. Plus, the pillow itself has a 10-year warranty on it. So, very cool. MyPillow.com, code FTL. As we continue here with
did you mention the 60-day money-back guarantee if you don't like the pillow?
I did. Yep. That's pretty awesome. So, again, you got nothing to lose here. Good. Give this thing a try. New Hampshire Independence, Foundation for New Hampshire Independence. Now, we know these guys. In fact, many of them have been on the show at times in the past. Our own Ellen Ball, former co-host on Free Talk Live, she's one of the board of directors there at the foundation. Rob Mathias from the Rebel Love Show is on the board of directors. And now Carly Garrick, the former president of the Free State Project, is the president now of the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence. So they're really kind of getting the ball in action over there. They've been more visible recently because of those things, and I think that's great. But here they're being made fun of by the Valley News. They are claiming that they offer a collection of nervous stories about coups, plots, and FBI powers rather than specifics about a glorious future for a free granite state. And I got to say, I disagree. The website is nhendependence.org. It's a nice-looking site, and yes, they do have some stories on the front page there. Let's see. I don't see anything about... Okay, so War on Terror, something about the War on Terror. So there's some kind of newsy stories that might suggest why they want to leave the United States. But there's also, under the About section at the top, the top 10 reasons for New Hampshire to declare independence. And that is a full list of why things would be better without the federal government around. It's 10 solid reasons why life would be better. So either the Valley News didn't take more than a minute to look at the New Hampshire, the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence website, or they're specifically trying to, obscure the truth in this case. Anyway, let's go on. An independent New Hampshire, says the Valley News, wouldn't be a major force in the world for either good or ill. With 1.3 million residents, its population size is close to that of Estonia's. New Hampshire's GDP, by one estimate, is just ahead of the Dominican Republic's. A free New Hampshire would have likely have porous borders, but it's hard to see how it would manage without them. A tax-hating government might have to rely even more heavily on lotteries and liquor to pay for services. So there's a lot within that short paragraph there. It wouldn't be a major force in the world for either good or ill. Disagree. If New Hampshire were truly a beacon of liberty, which it could absolutely be, if we have enough libertarians, enough voluntarists, anarchists, people who love liberty moving here and helping shape this place into the freest place in the world, there's an argument that it's one of the freest. But if it was by far the freest place, no doubt about it, then we would be able to show on display for all the rest of the United States and the rest of the world why it is that the free market is the best solution to the problems that life provides, and why the government is an inefficient, stupid, violent, terrible solution for those problems. We could show the world that, and that's of incredible value.
Right, and there's something else that maybe I'm just reading way too much into this. But they mentioned Estonia and the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And those are countries that most people don't really think twice about. Like if you said Estonia, people would be like, I've probably heard of it, but I don't know where it is.
Actually, Estonia is the most successful former Soviet state, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And we know that, but most people probably don't even think about Estonia. People don't generally think about Dominican Republic too much unless there's a hurricane that winds up hitting one of the islands in the Caribbean, and they might hear it on the news. And then there was the statement about a independent New Hampshire, and read it again.
The
an
GDP
independent
thing?
New Hampshire, would not be either a force, good or evil.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a major force in the world for either good or ill.
So basically, an independent New Hampshire would not be a superpower one way or the other. It would be, just like, one of those other countries like Estonia or the Dominican Republic or Uruguay. So, like, you're not a superpower, so what's the point of even being a country? So, are these people basically suggesting that, Uruguay should just join up with Brazil because Brazil's pretty sizable, and
right,
they're part of the BRICS.
As though the GDP is everything. Look, they say here that the New Hampshire GDP is just ahead of the Dominican Republic's. Well, according to Google, if you Google Dominican Republic GDP and New Hampshire GDP, they say here the 2013 GDP for the Dominican Republic was $61.16 billion, and in 2000 that was 2013. In 2007, the GDP for New Hampshire was $57 billion. So let's just say they're about on par. But remember, the Dominican Republic has about 10 times as many people. Excuse me, not 10 times. Oh, wait a minute. I'm looking at the... Okay, I'm sorry. The Google thing has like a graph where if you move the mouse, it actually adjusts the population based on the date. So recently, the population in the Dominican Republic was about 10.2 million. So not quite 10 times as many. New Hampshire has 1.3 million. people, or 1.3-ish million people. So that means per capita, the GDP is much higher than the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
So, again, sneaky tactics from the mainstream media here trying to drag the secession movement through the mud. New Hampshire is one of the freest places, and that means that it will be and is one of the wealthiest places. It's a place where a lot of millionaires come to retire because of the tax burdens here. This is Free Talk Live. We're coming up.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Teens radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with AgoristHosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agorist Hosting is now offering open bazaar hosting. Go to agoristhosting.com. Click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agorist Hosting. That's AGORIST hosting.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308. Recently, LRN.FM kicked off its 2016 satellite fundraiser. This year, we're hoping to expand our international free-to-air satellite coverage to include Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. Our current satellite coverage includes North America, Central America, and Sub-Saharan Africa. This year, the Indiegogo-based fundraiser is going to be promoted via a Head Talker. It's a website that allows you to sign up to join in a social media blast to promote something. Sign up now at share.lrn.fm via your preferred social media, and then on Independence Day, July 4th, the Head Talker will post to your social media accounts about our fundraiser. We've set a goal of 200 people. Will you be one of them? Now, of course, you can go donate to the fundraiser right now at fund.lrn.fm. But even if you can't afford to help, you can definitely add your social media reach to the Head Talker. So please do. Go to share.lrn.fm. That's share.lrn.fm.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control. Toll free here, 855-450-FREE. Maybe you're against the idea of secession and you want to tell us why. Well, we'd love to hear from you. 855-450-3733 or Skype into the show at Skype username LRN.FM. It's Ian and Darryl in the studio here tonight. We're reading a dishonest editorial by the Valley News. At first, I just thought it was, sort of snooty. But now that I've really had time to look at the numbers before previous, now I'm realizing they are absolutely just being really dishonest here. They're claiming that New Hampshire's GDP is just ahead of the Dominican Republic's. But while that may be true,
in raw numbers,
it doesn't take into account the population of New Hampshire versus the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic has more than 10 million. 10 million people.
10.4.
And New Hampshire has 1.3 million. So you do the division, and it turns out the per capita GDP is much higher than the Dominican Republic's. And I was, in fact, just looking, the country of Hong Kong, which isn't really a country, but it kind of still is separate from China in a lot of ways. Hong Kong constantly ranks at number 1 on the world's economic freedom rankings. It is the most economically free place in the globe, ranked by nation. And it ranks that way on the Heritage Foundation's chart, and it ranks that way on the, it's Heritage and Fraser Institute. They've got there's two different organizations that do yearly rankings of the various different countries around the world. When you do when you run the numbers between New Hampshire and Hong Kong, New Hampshire appears that it has more per capita GDP than even Hong Kong. Now, the Hong Kong GDP is very high compared to, say, the Dominican Republic, but nonetheless, New Hampshire would be higher. And also keep in mind, Hong Kong has no natural resources, and it has become a world powerhouse in economics without a damn bit of anything except for rock beneath them. That's all they got.
So, based on the numbers that I'm seeing, the GDP for New Hampshire, per capita GDP, is just a hair under $54,000 per person.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, you're looking at newer numbers, because I had 2007 numbers for GDP, and it was in the 40,000 range then. So it's increased.
And looking at the per capita GDP worldwide, New Hampshire would be just behind this tiny little country that most people have heard of as being one of the richest in the world, Brunei.
I've never heard of it.
The Sultan of Brunei is one of the richest men in the world.
Okay.
We would be just ahead of the Isle of Man, which is a British territory, and also ahead of the United States, Hong Kong, Guernsey. Would put the independent nation of New Hampshire at 14 in the world.
Of all GDP?
Assuming that none of the other states in the U.S. wound up also becoming independent. But yes, it would put New Hampshire at 14 in the per capita GDP. The highest per capita GDP is Qatar, followed by Liechtenstein. Macau, which is also, like Hong Kong, is a dependency of China that has some degree of autonomy. Bermuda and Monaco.
So they're full of it, this newspaper editorial.
Top 5.
They're either liars or they're incompetent, one or the other, but not an honest portrayal here at all.
Well, they're not necessarily lying per se. They're just being a little
purposefully not
deceitful.
Forthcoming. Yeah, purposefully not forthcoming. I mean, it's not. I'm no statistician, but even I know the difference between looking at raw GDP numbers and not factoring in the population.
Right.
So let's go on with some of the more claims here. They say a free New Hampshire would likely have porous borders, but it's hard to see how it would manage without them. Huh? What are they suggesting there? That
need to build a wall to keep the Massachusetts folk out.
Manage what? And actually, that actually would probably be a fairly popular proposal, considering how a lot of New Hampshireites do not like the folks from Massachusetts. But nonetheless.
Right, but don't we want them coming here to buy our
things.
alcohol?
Exactly.
Free trade.
Yeah.
If goods don't cross borders, armies will.
I totally agree with you. I don't support xenophobia even against Massachusetts people, because there's still some good people down there. They need to get out of there and come to New Hampshire, and a border wall would not help that. So the idea that it couldn't manage without putting up some sort of wall is absolutely absurd.
What
We'd
about
manage
this
just fine. It's
couple-
the rest of the...
There's the couple 1,000-mile-long border between the U.S. and Canada that's very, quote-unquote, porous. But it's not a problem.
Yeah. A tax-hating government might have to rely on even more heavily on lotteries and liquor to pay for services. Well, hopefully...
That's assuming that all of these quote-unquote services are still going to be offered.
Right, because we're hoping to have a bunch of liberty-minded folks come here and pare down the size of the government. Hopefully both will happen simultaneously.
When we say, we don't want the government providing these services, it's not to say that we don't like the services that are being offered. I, for one, I love libraries, and I love education. I don't think the government should be in charge of either one of those things.
Right, because you want them to be successful and efficient and helpful.
Right.
Let's go on, though. Vermont, they say, may be looking on with amusement, just like the editorial staff. Fortunately, Brexit is not currently trending, even though Vermont was a republic from 1777 to 1791, and a few residents have toyed with the idea in the past. But the Green Mountain State seems to have settled in comfortably among the 50 states, while New Hampshire has long been cantankerous, perhaps aggrieved at having to rub shoulders with the likes of Massachusetts. Those who believe in NHexit could be encouraged to work within the status quo for lower taxes and greater protections for personal freedom, but perhaps they have grown frustrated that a great majority ignore their cause. Well, by the way, many of the people who do believe in NHexit are also working within the status quo to lower taxes. You don't just pick one or the other. Maybe that's the way some people think about activism, is you can only be an activist for one thing.
Right.
And while it's certainly true you can only hold one sign at any given time, you can always hold a different sign the next day.
Right, and there are a lot of activists per se that will say, well, if you're not doing this one particular thing, then you're asleep or you're, blah, blah, blah. Like, I watch college football. I do a lot of stuff for liberty.
You do.
But I also enjoy the occasional college football game.
Or
I
wrestling.
enjoy watching pro wrestling. Just because I enjoy those things does not nullify everything else that I do during the week.
Exactly. At this point, we consider NHexit about as likely as finding out that Hogwarts is real and Harry Potter is en route on a broomstick.
I can vouch that Hogwarts are real. I've seen hogs that have warts.
But who's to dictate what fantasies to pursue in your spare time? It's a free country, which is one of the best things you can say about these United States.
We're a free country? Really? I've not heard anybody say that.
It's amazing.
In seriousness in probably 15 years.
And if that's the best that they've got, is that, you can't do this, you guys are crazy, and it's freedom here already, so what's the problem? I mean, if that's the best that they've got, is it's already free here, they're hearkening back to this free country idea, I think that's going to get them laughed at by people who know that this is not a free country. As you've said, we haven't heard, most people who call this show, who still believe in the idea of the United States, won't say it's a free country. They'll acknowledge that there are serious problems with the government in the United States. That's why people are upset about their choices between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. They know that that is two crap can choices for president. They know that Congress sucks. They're not happy with the court decisions. They're not happy with the wars around the world. But yet this Valley News editorial ignorantly just claiming that the United States is a free country, anyone who's been paying any attention will hopefully be laughing at them. By all means, laugh away at the NHexit movement, because at the very least, it means they're paying attention. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. You can share your thoughts. This is Free Talk Live.
This is a life-changing message for anyone with sleep apnea who is on the go and tired of dragging around a big, bulky home CPAP device. MiniCPAP.com now offers a portable device that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. For even more freedom, you can add a battery that's as tiny as a deck of cards. It's called the Transcend Mini CPAP, and right now you can try it risk-free for 10 days by calling 1-800-941-9483. Transcend is the world's first portable mini CPAP device. It gives you the freedom to sleep in total comfort anywhere you are. Our smallest and most advanced portable design ever, Transcend is so small and so light you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. It's FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. Enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. Call minicpap.com now for your 10-day at-home trial. 1-800-941-9483. That's 1-800-941-9483.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
This week, the Forest Service rolled out a brand new Smokey the Bear campaign in which the popular mascot burns to death. They say they hope the shocking turn will get people serious about preventing forest fires for once. The new campaign depicts Smokey the Bear noticing a family leave a flame unattended. Before he can put it out, the entire forest is consumed and Smokey dies in agony while trying to fight the blaze. Despite educating the public for over 70 years, the Forest Service says wildfires have only gotten worse and it was time to take their warnings to the next level. The new ads aim to show that if Smokey the Bear can be killed by the very type of fire he works so tirelessly to prevent, it could happen to anyone at any time. So what's next for the long-running campaign? Well, now that their primary spokesperson is out of the picture, the Ad Council says the PSAs will shift focus to a new character named Little Brian. He's the boy whose family caused the fire in the first place, and he's grappling with crippling guilt over Smokey's death.
This is the Onion News Network.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Tipping. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin tip returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card Bitcoin tip that's easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets and spending, and returns to the tipper if unused. Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything you want. You can do that here even in these remaining moments. We've got the number for you, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Skype into the show, username LRN.FM. If you like the show, you like Free Talk Live, you like what we're doing, promoting the ideas of liberty, independence, peace, here 7 nights a week, live on the radio, on satellite, across various different different continents.
North and Central America, most of Africa.
Yep, that's right. And maybe soon, Europe. We've got a satellite fundraiser going on, and you can help us in 2 distinct ways. One, you can, of course, give to the fundraiser, which is going to be happening through the next solid month and a half. So you can go to fund.lrn.fm to find the satellite fundraiser. It's an Indiegogo campaign. So, of course, there's, some perks that go along with contributing. There's, you can give $50. You can give $10. You can do whatever you want. There's actually a Bitcoin contribution option as well. And the fundraiser is going on, but we're really actually focusing on something we're trying new this year. So we did the fundraiser for the first time last year. This time we're trying a Head Talker campaign, which will help promote the fundraiser if we can reach our goal. And we set a goal initially of 200 people to sign up for this thing, and it seemed like that might have been too high. So we kind of chickened out and lowered it to 100 today because we were only at like 30-something earlier today. Then we sent out a couple of reminders today and actually blew it up to like, what was it at last time?
It's at 91 right now. We were at about 30% earlier today,
so which
was about 58 people. We're now at 91.
I thought it was like 30-something for some reason. Oh, it was 30%.
30%.
Right. So thank you to everybody who signed up. We still need at least 9 more people to go to share.lrn.fm.
And not necessarily 9 people.
Okay.
Because if you sign up to support this with both Twitter and Facebook, that counts as 2.
Now, I think one of the things we were running up against, and we should have probably figured this was going to happen, is that a lot of the audience of Free Talk Live are kind of privacy people.
Yes.
So they don't like the idea that the Head Talker website will have access to their Facebook or Twitter account to post to it.
Right. It makes a single post.
Yeah.
Or actually, it will make 2 posts. It makes a post when you sign up.
Oh, really? Okay.
If you want it to.
Okay.
And it will then, when this launches at noon on Monday, everybody that signs up will have a message that goes out at the exact same time.
So noon Eastern time, all the people who've signed up, it blasts out over all of their social media that they've opted in with.
Yes.
And so therefore the idea is that because a bunch of people are posting the same link at the same time on social media, that it will be more seen because of that. The social media, whatever you call it, algorithms will promote those because they're more seen.
Right, and it's a better chance of showing up as a trending topic.
Yeah.
Because, so many people are going to have posted it. So many people will be able to see it.
That's the theory, at least. And you've used this before for a couple of your campaign things that you were doing with your Darryl W. Perry for President campaign.
As well as the announcement of Liberty Lobby LLC.
Correct. So hopefully you can help us with this. Besides, even if we go past 100, you can still keep signing up for it. So,
right.
I mean, it would be great if we could hit the 200 goal. But I got a little chickeny. As we're getting closer to this, because if you don't hit the goal, then they won't.
Then it doesn't
message.
go out. The message does not go out.
Yeah, so it's time wasted. So I guess a lot of people didn't want to sign up because they didn't want to give Head Talker permission, and I can understand that. I totally understand, and you can always revoke those permissions later on. So let's say you're worried about that, you could go and revoke those permissions. Although I can say that I've been signed up for Head Talker for a while now. I signed up for more than one of your campaigns, Darryl, and it's not like Head Talker has seized control of the Facebook account and has started posting anything else.
We're posting everything.
Yeah. They're restricted in what they can do, and it seems like a pretty up and up service. So please go to share.lrn.fm and sign up for the Head Talker. Then we'll blast out simultaneously on Independence Day. Great day to promote the idea of liberty and getting it on a new satellite, perhaps, over Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East via the Hotbird satellites, which you can learn a lot more about.
And a lot of Russia, it looks like, as well.
Maybe. The signal's probably not as strong out that way, but it is a pretty massive signal. You can go to fund.lrn.fm to sign up for the fundraiser itself, or go to share.lrn.fm to sign up for the Head Talker to help us promote the fundraiser. Either way, if you could do both, that would certainly be most appreciated. More about secession since we're on the topic here. The Valley News, I finished up their hit piece, if you will, this editorial piece.
Okay, well, allow me to then read some of the stuff from the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence, because
is this from their
Valley
list?
News? No, this is actually from their FAQs.
Okay,
because the Valley News referenced the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence.
That's right.
And the very first question under FAQ, frequently asked question: do we have the right to peacefully declare our independence? Answer: the Declaration of Independence reminds us that self-determination is a basic right and that no one, not even the king of a world-spanning empire, can take that away. No one seriously denies that the people of New Hampshire had the right to declare our independence from a corrupt, distant, overbearing government in 1776. It is equally undeniable that we have that same right today.
Why wouldn't we? I mean, rights don't just go away over time.
Well, some people think they do.
Well,
some people think that you get rights from government.
Yeah, that's wrong.
There are some people that think that rights don't even exist.
Well, they don't technically exist. They're an idea that human beings share. So they exist in our minds, and they're a darn good idea, and I think more people should respect those ideas. But it's certainly true that the people calling themselves the state can trample on those rights.
Yes.
And can and have and continue to trample on those rights. And you got to stand up for them at some point if you want to retain what you have left and possibly increase the amount of rights you have. You can't expect them to just stand by and leave you alone. They're going to meddle, and it's another reason to leave.
There's a question about whether or not New Hampshire could survive without money from Washington, D.C. Not only will we survive, we will thrive.
Oh, yeah.
For each dollar the people of New Hampshire send to Washington, we get about 70 cents back. This dismal return on our hard-earned money has placed New Hampshire among the nation's top 5 donor states.
That's only the beginning of the story. I mean, how about all the regulation costs when you factor in all the mandates coming down from the federal government, whether it's on the government of New Hampshire or the businesses in New Hampshire? That makes doing business, makes life a lot harder. You get out from underneath the federal government's control, you're going to have more productivity almost instantaneously.
In theory. And I say that only because I'm not sure what sort of regulations the United States government puts on every item that is imported into the country.
It depends on the category.
Right. And, the people of New Hampshire would want to wind up, being able to do business with people outside of New Hampshire. So some of those regulations might still apply in some degree.
But I mean, like, OSHA or all this other, FDA, all that crap, not going to apply.
Right.
Think about that. So medicines could be unfettered here in New Hampshire. People could try different types of solutions legally for the maladies that affect them here. I mean, we could just keep stabbing and give you different examples of, how it is that things could be very drastically different.
Yeah, wouldn't have to worry about some federal land grab because of the something wedge muscle.
Eminent domain or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Aren't we better off as part of a bigger country? And this is kind of part of what the Valley News editorial staff of, New Hampshire would just be like some, know-nothing country that nobody ever thinks about. So, no, just don't secede because you wouldn't be number one. They say it depends on the country. That, again, wouldn't we be better off as part of a bigger country? There was a time when New Hampshire and the United States shared the same interests and stood for the same values. Sadly, that time has passed. Today, the government in Washington is a government of midnight raids, warrantless searches, confiscatory taxation, and an insatiable appetite for power and control. They'll continue to try to erode New Hampshire's culture of peace and freedom as long as we allow it.
Yeah, it's true.
Then goes on to talk about the size of some of the countries, specifically of the 10 richest countries in the world based on that per capita GDP that we talked about a little bit ago.
You said New Hampshire was number 14?
Based on the numbers that I saw, they're saying New Hampshire would automatically be in the top 10 and that half of the countries in that top 10 are geographically smaller than New Hampshire.
Like Liechtenstein?
Liechtenstein, Monaco, Brunei.
So size doesn't matter.
Right.
Or maybe the obverse is true. Hey, we're out of time for tonight, but we'll be back tomorrow. You can join us online in the meantime. You're actually going to a Secession conference this weekend,
yes,
right?
The Startup Societies Summit.
If you get a chance, give us a summary about how that goes. We'll see you tomorrow.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
From Keene, the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, July 1st, 2016. Silver is trading at $19.21 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,334 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $681. Antiwar.com reports a pair of Afghan suicide attackers on Thursday attacked a major convoy of Afghan police buses carrying a large group of newly graduated cadets, killing at least 34 people. 30 of them were identified as officers, with the other 4 apparently civilian bystanders. One of the suicide attackers was said to be in a vehicle full of explosives, while the other was apparently on foot with a suicide charge. The buses were headed to Kabul from the west at the time of the attack, along the road from Kabul to Wardak. According to a Taliban spokesman, the attacker on foot struck first, and then the car bomber rammed into the convoy as the emergency services arrived to tend to the wounded, a common strategy for such attacks. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani condemned the attack as a crime against humanity and said he is launching an investigation to see how the Taliban managed to find out about the convoy in advance to launch such a coordinated strike. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. UPI reports the State Department has asked a judge for 2 more years to sort through emails from former aides to Hillary Clinton, saying the search method the department used was faulty and omitted thousands more emails than initially thought relevant to a lawsuit by a conservative group. The group, Citizens United, sued the State Department last year, seeking access to emails sent by 4 former Clinton aides. The suit seeks access to emails regarding the Clinton Foundation and Teneo Consulting, a firm with close ties to the Clintons. U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras ordered the State Department to make the emails available to Citizens United by July 21st. But now the State Department lawyers said in a legal filing that there may be thousands more emails potentially relevant to the lawsuit than initially thought, and due to the large number of Freedom of Information lawsuits and requests generated by the revelation that Clinton used a private email server while Secretary of State, it could take up to 27 months to complete the work. State Department Freedom of Information Officer Eric Stein said the agency initially only searched the 2 and and from lines in its email database to determine how many emails might be relevant to the Citizens United case, but that search method excluded forwarded emails and other items that text searches for various related phrases did not, leading to thousands more emails that must be reviewed for relevance and national security redactions. Stein said the agency is reviewing the emails at a rate of about 500 per month. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a Secret Service agent who stole money seized by the government in the investigation of the drug bazaar Silk Road is now suspected of stealing money in at least 2 other cases, according to court filings unsealed on Thursday. In the larger of those cases, he is thought to have been behind the theft of about $700,000 worth of Bitcoin from a Secret Service account 3 months after the agency was urged to block his access, according to court documents. Former Secret Service agent Sean Bridges pled guilty last year and was sentenced in December to nearly 6 years in prison for stealing more than $800,000 worth of Bitcoin during the Silk Road investigation. According to an affidavit unsealed on Thursday, the Justice Department learned in April 2015 that Bridges might have kept a private cryptographic key giving him access to a Bitcoin wallet with $700,000 in currency that the Silk Road Task Force had seized in 2014. The department urged the agency to move the funds elsewhere. Both the Secret Service and Bridges' attorney, Stephen Levin, declined comment. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to the ONN Presidential Democrat Kiosk Debate. If you're just tuning in, tonight, in an historic first, Americans can ask any question at any time just by stepping into one of the thousands of Democrat kiosks we've placed in front of 7-Elevens across the country. Decatur, Illinois. Let your voice be heard.
Hi, everybody. My name's Joe Crawford, and my question is, how many taco and cheese taquitos do you think I can eat in 60 seconds?
Kevin, have we screened all of these? We haven't? But we can? We can't. Great. Straight from the heart of America, raw and unfiltered, Rockville, Maryland, to Boulder, Colorado.
This is the most powerful sword in the planet.
So, we really can't screen these things, Kevin? Not at all. Okay, then I think I'll just ask a question of my own. What's that? Okay, no, I won't. Austin, Texas.
This is the Onion News Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It is Anarchy After Dark. Cody here. Renee is at a rave right now. So, instead of Renee, we have a visitor. His name is Gio. And you were at PorkFest. Now you're here in Keene.
That's right.
So, yeah, you got a full week of getting a big taste of what's going on around here, I suppose.
Oh yeah, got a big dose of libertarianism, more than I'm used to. I'm used to not knowing any libertarian, so it's been overwhelming and amazing at the same time.
Yeah, so, and this is brand new to you, so I've gotten that, definitely. I mean, I had been doing this show for years, still, and I believe on LRN before I got involved in Liberty Forum and PorkFest. So I had been a libertarian for, I don't know, probably 5 years. I've been doing this show since 2007, and I remember, that first PorkFest, you got your people on the internet, but once you see them all in person, it's like, whoa, feel a little bit less alone now.
Right, absolutely.
And, it's good to have that because if you are too separated from the zeitgeist of the community that you're around at your job, your family, your friends, all that stuff, and you find yourself starting to get woke as fuck, as they're saying now. Once you get woke as fuck, you can't get unwoke as fuck. You can't untake the pill. Doesn't matter if you're bulimic, puke it up. Doesn't matter. You already took the red pill.
Right. There's no going back.
No going back.
Absolutely.
Can't unlearn all of the shit that you find out. So it can get kind of depressing if you spend too much time being the one guy trying to defend shit that is an uphill battle with most regular people. So there gets to a point, you move here, and I've only been here for like 3 or 4 months now, but there gets to a point where all of a sudden, that set of opinions, it's kind of your world, and it's not just what we talk about. It's not a big deal. We all talk about this shit openly, and it's a completely different way of going about your life. So I'm hoping you're enjoying it. You got any plans on moving to New Hampshire anytime, or are you just kind of seeing what's going on around here?
Scoping things out. I'm looking at maybe getting a summer home in the future. After being here, I can't. It's hard to go back. If I didn't have my beautiful fiance, I wouldn't be able to go back.
Yeah.
But I want more. I want more of the intellectual conversations, walking around the bonfire. Yesterday night and the night before at PorkFest, listening to the conversations, and them all being conversations I was interested in. It's going to make going home, talking to normal people, their normal opinions, boring. So pretty much everybody else is boring. I didn't know, I didn't know if libertarians talk about freedom as much as I do. I thought I was a fanatic. Maybe that's why people,
Yeah. But the thing is, we don't do it all the time. I mean, the cool thing is that we've got these kind of outside of the box opinions that bring us together, but we can still chill on the porch, have a drink, talk shit or whatever, talk about life, get fucking high, play video games, whatever, which you would do with your normal friends. But there's almost more of a bond knowing that you're part of a community that's got a purpose,
right?
Because even if say you find a community in a bowling team or something, some boring shit like that, you're gonna make friends, but the only purpose is to fucking have fun bowling. So I definitely feel like you come here and it can kind of give your life a little bit more meaning, which the older you get, the more you start wondering the fuck am I supposed to be doing here? Am I supposed to just make enough money to get by, marry somebody, go through the whole routine, or am I supposed to actually be involved in the community I'm around? And if you see stupid shit like statism, should I be part of the group of people that are fighting against that?
Right, absolutely. It's wonderful being around having these conversations. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to know that I'm not the only one that.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one sitting here thinking about it. I know. I knew there were other people out here. Out in the world. Obviously, I listen to radio.
Yep.
But to actually be here, sit through a Free Talk Live show, be on the Freedom Fiends, it's
kind of mind blowing, right?
It's surreal.
Yeah,
it's absolutely surreal. This whole experience is surreal.
Yep. That's where it starts. And you will get used to it because, you're going to get used to anything. But definitely, when you first have your taste of, what you can have here, it's fucking awesome.
Right. You wear,
definitely.
You're out, you wear Liberty shirts. You hope somebody comes up to you, wants to talk about what's on your shirt. Usually it doesn't happen. And once they do, they're like, whoa, this guy's pretty passionate. So I don't want to talk about it because talking about politics isn't it's not acceptable.
It's weirdly taboo.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that too, where it's almost like what it reminds me of is a quote from Terrence McKenna, which is, if you're hanging out with somebody, if you've got one other person besides yourself, you've always got a third person at the table, and that's culture. And you grow up in a culture where there's certain things that are okay to talk about, certain things that aren't. And a lot of it's based on old fucking slogans like, religion and politics have no place at the dinner table, basically saying it's inappropriate conversation. So you can't have those talks at work. So they give us certain things to be up to date with, to have opinions about, so you can still have a conversation at work. and never get to the core of the issues of, hey, why are we here? Why is there a government? What's the deal with what happens when you die? Like, those things you don't talk about. So it's more or less like, hey, holy shit, Walking Dead was crazy last weekend, wasn't it? You know? And it's really just a waste of your mind.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of people who can get real fucking smart with sports statistics. And, you know, they're putting a lot of work and cognitive effort into, like, memorizing these stats and knowing them and being ready to have a real in-depth conversation about something that doesn't fucking matter.
Right. And it's okay for them to get upset. It's okay for them to be passionate, yell, scream, but, you know, you're calm.
Yeah.
You don't show a lot of emotion. You're talking to somebody about politics and ethics, you know, actual ethics, first principle. People don't want to hear it.
Yeah. And I found talking to the quote unquote muggles, I don't know if you've heard that one, the muggles, the non-libertarians, it is harder to talk to them because if you question anything that's been indoctrinated into them, it's almost like this program goes off, this cognitive dissonance program, you know, an alert goes off, and they have to defend what they believe to be reality by getting mad at you. So, and I don't really do that, you know, I just say how I feel, what I think. This is what I think, you know. Yeah, I'm an anarchist. I do hallucinogenic drugs and try and figure out what the fuck reality is all about. I'm not going to angrily defend it, but I'm going to put it out there if somebody asks me. But what I hate is, you know, when most normal people with their opinions, they will absolutely get mad at you, you know. And I'm welcome to have something I believe be proved wrong. You know, I don't hold on to my beliefs as like my personality. It's just me in an awakening process to try and figure out the best way the world should work, the way us humans are supposed to interact, the way we're supposed to deal with suffering, and, you know, how to get along with each other without having war and hate and all this bullshit. And if a new way to get to that point of utopia is shown to me, then I'm going to be open-minded to it. You know, I don't care. You know, if you're right, you're right. I got nothing to lose by that. All right, so it is Anarchy After Dark. If you're at PorkFest, I believe you can hear us right now. So hello, everybody over there. We'll be back. Another segment coming up.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you? If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State. Or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
And we're back. It is Anarchy After Dark. Cody hanging out with you. Hear the show on LRN. We're in Keene right now in the FTL studios. Every Friday, 10 p.m. to midnight. Believe we can take Skype calls at lrn.fm. You want to talk to me? You got a question for Gio, who is visiting from
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
Yep.
Milwaukee. All right. That's where you guys got some beer coming out of there, right?
Yeah, a lot of beer.
A lot of beer.
Yeah. A lot of beer and motorcycles.
Is it at all offensive to you, being from there, that a lot of people, they think Milwaukee, they think beer? That's the first thing they go to, sort of?
No, I wouldn't say so. It's kind of the culture around there. I'm not a huge alcohol drinker, but I do like beer. So, no, it's cool in Milwaukee. It's got that nostalgic feel to it.
Yeah. I've never been to the Midwest. I haven't been, literally only East Coast stuff. So there's probably 90% of America that I have no idea what's going on, which is weird. You know, I've been pretty much everywhere in New England, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Been to New York, Pennsylvania a little bit. But outside of that, Florida, Disney World trips, and anything beyond that, like Baltimore, was just just stopping in the airport for a connecting flight. So I don't know what the point of what I'm saying is, but Midwest, yeah, I know nothing about it.
Right? Yeah, this is my first time coming to the East Coast, so
yeah,
I didn't know what it was about. But
yeah, there's probably a New England culture shock that
the driving. I'm used to Chicago, but Boston was pretty crazy.
I won't drive in Boston. I'll get a taxi or an Uber, And I remember I was going to a concert. I don't remember the band, but we got an Uber. Oh, it was Less Than Jake and Real Big Fish. Yeah, so we got an Uber, and we had to get to the show. We had we thought, according to Uber, it was going to be a 10-minute drive without traffic. Turned out, because of traffic, and it was in the dead of winter, so like all the streets were covered in snow, and turned out to be like a 45-minute long drive. But that was with the dude, like going the wrong way down one-ways, driving on sidewalks, just like driving like an animal in ways I would never, ever be able to do. Like, I'm not that aggressive of a driver. So I was just glad, like, all right, I think I trust this guy enough not to get me killed. I would not want to be the one doing this right now, but it did suck because it was supposed to be a 10-minute drive. It turned out to be like a $50 taxi ride for some of those 10 minutes away. And what we did was, the nice thing about Uber is that, like, if you have an issue, you can just file a complaint. And we got it knocked back down to like, I think it was like $15 or $20 we had to pay. But that's the nifty thing about free market shit with Uber and stuff. Like, they actually care about how you feel, as a customer.
All right.
So that was a good experience. But I've used it a few times. I've had good experiences. I've had bad experiences. The other time was also in Boston for another show, and we had to catch a bus to get back to Portland, Maine. I was leaving at a specific time, and it won't wait for you. Like, when 12 o'clock or whenever it was hits, they're going to be leaving. So we took an Uber back, and this dude was asking us for directions. He's like, so what do we take a left up here? And I'm like, I don't fucking know, man. You live here. You're an Uber driver. You've got a GPS, which should be enough. But apparently, even with the GPS, I knew when things were getting a little bit weird. When we passed the same Whole Foods for like the second or third time, I'm like, either this dude's lost, or he's making this a longer trip than it needs to be to fuck us out of more money.
Racking up that money.
So what happened was we missed the fucking bus, and we thought we were going to have to sleep at whatever station we were at for the night, get the 5 o'clock bus in the morning. Luckily, we got a fucking taxi cab